The last 6 months have revealed our enduring spirit, what we can collectively achieve, and our potential to rise from the brink. Upon assumption of office in January this year, we were handed an economy in deep distress, a country with dispirited citizens. Trust and faith in our leaders were at all-time low. The fundamentals were not only weak, but broken. Mr. Speaker, and the misery and suffering were palpable. Mr. Speaker, in just 6 months, in fact, under 200 days, under the decisive leadership of President John Mahama, we have begun to change the story. Mr. Speaker, President Mahama's economic management model is working. The turnaround is in sight. Mr. Speaker, the signs of economic progress are visible and measurable. Mr. Speaker, first quarter economic growth is at 5-year high. Our debt to GDP ratio is at a 5-year low. Mr. Speaker, inflation has declined to a 4-year low. Right Honorable Speaker, our credit rating has improved from junk to B- with stable outlook, a 2-notch upgrade and a 4-year high. Right Honorable Speaker, we have almost reversed all the cedi depreciations in the years 2022, 2023, and 2024, with no cedi depreciation in the year 2025. Mr. Speaker, the level of the appreciation of the Ghana cedi has never happened in the history of our nation. Prices of petrol and diesel at the pump have reduced significantly to the benefit of consumers. And the price of sugar, rice, and cooking oil at a 4-year low. 4-year low. Mr. Speaker, the price of 25 kilogram bag of Royal Aroma rice, which used to be sold at 650 Ghana cedis in January, is now being sold for 356 Ghana cedis.
Well, the Finance Minister, Dr. Kasiel Ato Forcing, in fulfilling the requirements as has been dictated in the Public Financial Management Act, provided an update of how the first 6 months of the year has been, and then also a projection of how the next 6 months of the year will be to our representatives in Parliament. Now, it's calling on Ghanaians to remain united and have faith in the country's economic recovery efforts, assuring that better days lie ahead. Those were his words now during the delivery of the 2025 media budget statement to Parliament on Thursday, July 24, 2025. He's expressing optimism about the future of the Ghanaian economy, noting that ongoing reforms are laying the foundation for sustained growth. Now, the dissenting views and other persons within the MPP also hold the view that this is just what we've experienced over the last 6 months is the fruits of the foundation that was laid by the previous administration. Beyond this, what is your verdict as well of how the last 6 months or the first 6 months of the year has been for you? We'll have a conversation this morning about the mid-year budget review, taking into consideration the state of the economy and then also how the next 6 months of the year will be. As I always say, in analyzing the economy, it's not so much about what the managers say, it's a lot more as well about how you feel. We'll get into it this morning here on Key Point. Also, this morning on Key Point, we will get into the matters of the Auditor General's report that detailed infractions and financial malfeasance, diversion of public funds, and then also some procurement breaches that led to billions, almost 19 billion cedis not being accounted for in the 2024 accounting period. Now, out of that figure, 86% of that figure was losses and diversions and procurement breaches that occurred in the energy sector alone, energy sector institutions. So what do we do going forward to make meaning of the Auditor General's report? Beyond we coming to sit, lament, the Public Accounts Committee will sit, we'll all see how they will all lament and so on. How much of recovery, we are in a period of recovery, how much of recovery is done from the Auditor General's report and all the other things that it has flagged in that said report? We would have a conversation this morning. Also, Defense Minister Dr. Edward Omane-Boamah has disclosed a new case of ammunition theft within the Ghana Armed Forces, heightening fears over national security lapses and deepening concerns about the military's internal controls. Now, he's been addressing the media at the accountability series, and then also when he went on the working tour at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. Two separate developments we got of that investigations are ongoing to these two separate cases, which we will get into this morning. What could have happened? What should be happening to identify where these thousands of military-grade ammunitions are? And who should be answering questions about this? Stay with us. We have a big conversation this morning. I am Alfred Ocansey. We're live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook. We're streaming on 3 News on YouTube. So when you go on YouTube, you type 3 News. That YouTube page will pop up. We're streaming on YouTube on 3 News, also on X, on TV3 Ghana on X. So you can connect with us. We're also live on the Voice of London radio in the heart of the City of London and Voice of London television. We'll be back shortly after this quick break. We get into the poll tracker, which is a reflection of your views, your concerns, and you have a say in what we say here on Key Point. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly.
Reporting from the Takoradi Market Circle,
from the heart of the Upper West Regional Capital,
from the heart of the Ashanti Kingdom,
reporting from Sunyani,
from the Central Business District of Navrongo.
The parliamentarians are on recess.
This is where it all unfolds, the moments that potentially alters the course of our nation and the world. These are the individuals we recognize, the voices we amplify, who appears on screen and who contributes behind the scenes. With professionalism at our core, we bring you news you can trust, impact journalism that makes a difference. This illustrates how diverse perspectives enhance our strength and reinforces our mission. This is 3 News, leaders in breaking news, exclusive interviews, facts and analysis on TV, radio, online and digital. 3 News, first in news.
reporting from the Takoradi Market Circle,
from the heart of the Upper West Regional Capital,
from the heart of the Ashanti Kingdom,
reporting from Sunyani,
from the Central Business District of Navrongo.
The parliamentarians are on recess.
This is where it all unfolds, the moments that potentially alters the course of our nation and the world. These are the individuals we recognize, the voices we amplify, who appears on screen and who contributes behind the scenes. With professionalism at our core, we bring you news you can trust, impact journalism that makes a difference. This illustrates how diverse perspectives enhance our strength and reinforces our mission. This is 3 News, Leaders in breaking news, exclusive interviews, facts and analysis on TV, radio, online, and digital. 3 News, first in news.
Welcome to Key Point here on TV3. We're live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, and also on DSTV channel 279 on the Voice of London Radio in the heart of the City of London. This is Paul Tracker. This segment, we engage with you. You have a say in what we say here on Key Point, as you also reflect the views, your concerns, your aspirations, your opinions about matters of the economy, politics, as well as matters that directly impact on you. And that is the nexus between what we do here and what you are thinking and what you're feeling at home. Today on Poll Tracker, we're getting into the matters of the economy, and it's for good reason. After what the Finance Minister, Dr. Kasela Tufosing, presented on Thursday, we lay the foundation to this conversation this morning, taking a look at the sentiments of people, over 10,000 people who were polled by Global Info Analytics, Musa Dankwa, expressing their views and their concerns about the last 6 months of the year, or the first 6 months of the year between January and June 2025, how their own state of the economy has been, how their view of the direction of the country is. And it paints a certain picture. And we would also put that on and juxtapose with what the Finance Minister, Dr. Kasela Tufosing, presented. And this is it. Let's go straight into it. Follow me closely. Now, over the 10,000 people who were polled by Global Info Analytics, this is the outcome. They were asked a specific question about what their view is when it comes to the direction of the country. 70% of the respondents said the country is headed in the right direction. This is an increase from the 62% who responded in April 2025, indicating that the country is in the right direction. So as of June, 70% of the respondents of over 10,000 said the country is headed in the right direction. This is the July poll. Now, 20% said, based on their own experiences, they believe that the country is headed in the wrong direction. 59% of the respondents say that their standard of living has improved compared to the same period last year. So there was a year-on-year analysis of January to June 2024 and January to June 2025. And bear in mind, this poll was done in the month of July. So 59% of the respondents say that based on their own conditions of living now, as compared to the same period last year, there's been an improvement. 72% say they expect their standard of living to improve in the next half of the year. So they have expectations, they have aspirations. Sure, that's exactly what is reflected in your views and your concerns as well. Now, 55% say that they expect prices of goods and services to decrease in the next 6 months. Now, that's instructive because the Finance Minister, although was quite modest in looking at the end-year inflation that he announced in this mid-year budget review, there hasn't been a change. The likes of Deloitte have projected, all things being equal, single-digit inflation. But then again, we started this year with inflation of 23.8%. We've seen a continuous reduction in the inflation rate over the period. We're talking about within the region of about 13%. Now, what does this mean? For people who are seeing this rate go down, it influences the expectation of this of the people who say they want to see price of goods and services down, and the impact that we're seeing on various aspects of the economy. He wants to also appeal to Gutai and others to let this appreciation in the economy reflect in the goods and services. Because you know what? Beyond the statistics of how good the economy is fiscally and the statistics that he put out on Thursday, The people who are watching right now will not make meaning of the statistics unless it reflects in our daily lives. So yes, in analyzing the state of the economy, the managers of the economy will say one thing, but then again, it must also have some reflection in the lives of the people. That's why they say it's not so much about what you say, it's a lot more about how people feel, the people you're managing. And that's what is reflected in this poll. There's that expectation. As to whether that expectation would also come to pass is a conversation that we're going to be having with our experts as to how the next 6 months of the year will be. This is it. 19% of the respondents also say that they expect prices to actually increase. As to why they expect prices to increase, we would have a conversation on that. Now, if you look at the poll response on the president's performance between January and June 2025, this is the second term of President John Dramani Mahama as President of the Republic of Ghana. The over 10,000 respondents say, in terms of the handling of the economy, which was essentially the verdict that Dr. Kasela Toforsin presented, 74% of the respondents say they approve of his handling of the economy, that he's done good. In terms of job creation, 67 of the respondents say they approve of the president's policies, interventions to create jobs. We've seen the Jumawa program, and then also others that have been launched, the 1 million coders training that has been launched as well, and the 24-hour economy policy itself. All of those influence the reflection that we're seeing here of 67% of the respondents saying, look, we expect the economy to boost and then also create jobs. That's the expectation. On the matter of the handling of Galamsey, which is a topical matter as well, 65% of the respondents say they approve of the measures he's put in place to fight illegal mining. I have those who have dissenting views, but a lot more needs to be done. In fact, on that same day when the media budget review was being presented, the minority in parliament petitioned the president, and one of the issues they raised is illegal mining. And they want LI 2462 to be repealed. They want the president to also declare a state of emergency. All of that was captured in the petition that they submitted to the president. On the performance score, this was captured in the Global Info Analytics survey for the July poll. This is it. On the stability of the city, which has been one of the major highlights of the performance of this administration in the last 6 months. Out of 10, the respondents said the president has scored 7 over 10 when it comes to the stabilization of the city. That was reflected in what the Finance Minister, Dr. Kasela Toforsin, presented. A major part of the improvement in the economy we saw reflected in the city's appreciation against the major trading currencies. The question we're going to be asking as we go on is how this will be sustained over the next 6 months. That is important as well. On managing the economy, out of the score of 10, they scored the president 6.6%. On the fight against corruption, we've seen a number of people that the Attorney General has hauled to the courts. And then the special prosecutor as well. We've seen what the special prosecutor is doing in the National Petroleum Authority case. In fact, what we do know is that there are 4 other persons who have still not met their bail conditions in this National Petroleum Authority case. They are still in the coolest as far as we do know. On the fight against corruption, over 10,000 respondents say they would give the president 6.6% over 10. On stabilizing prices, they scored him 6.5% over 10. If you recall, when we started seeing a major improvement in the city against the major trading currencies, there was a call by the Ghanaian people to Guta and traders to reduce their prices. They said we should wait till after 2 months. The 2 months has elapsed. In fact, this July will be in. That 2 months ending. So all things being equal, we expect that prices will reduce in the month of August. But this is the expectation that people have. The causes of the economy. The respondents were asked specific questions about what are the major causes of the current economic condition. 62% of the voting populace say they believe that the current economic conditions are due to John Mahama's policies. Now, that's in sharp contrast to what the NPP and the minority have been saying. That, look, what we have experienced over the last 6 months has very little to do with policies of this administration. It has a lot more to do with the foundation that was laid by the ex-Wale Akufo-Addo administration, and this administration is only reaping the fruits of the said foundation that was laid. But the over 10,000 voting population that was polled by Musa Dankwa, 62% of them say what they are experiencing, of all they've experienced between January and June, is as a result of the policies implemented by this administration. We'll get into that, and find out what the statistics and what the facts really say. 23% of them attribute what they've experienced over the last 6 months to the ex-Wale Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo administration. So you see that opinion or that point of view about the foundation being laid by the ex-Wale administration and this administration also getting the fruits of it captured in this poll as well. 23% of them. 15% of them say, well, you know what, I'm not really sure about who is to be given credit for this. We'll get into that. And then when we talk about the matters related to the fiscal measures that have been implemented, essentially that's what the finance minister came to also present in terms of the fiscal position of the economy and what has been achieved over the period and the spending that he has done. One of the major issues that the minority also raised against this administration, that they have not been spending. That's why the picture of the economy looks that good, right? But the finance minister sought to disprove that, outlining a number of things that he's been spending on: free senior high school, National Health Insurance Authority, livelihood empowerment against poverty, LEAP, and then also the assemblies as well, there's ministries, department and agencies spending that have taken place, giving all that detail. Now, we will see how the next 6 months of the year will be when it comes to what the expenditure position will be after government starts fulfilling the expenditure on commitment basis. This is what the respondents say, that in terms of energy crisis, recall that one of the first issues that this administration had to deal with was energy crisis. The first few weeks, in fact, after the elections, during the period of transition, this administration had to deal with impending doomsday. They had to run around and ensure that that did not happen. Now, in thinking through how to solve the over $3 billion debt hanging around the energy sector in this country, there's been an introduction of the energy sector levy. They amended with an additional 1 cedi on petrol prices that we'll have to pay for. Now, when this levy took effect, just a little over a week ago, we saw some pumps increase prices beyond the 1 cedi addition. We'll get an understanding as to why that's the case, because a number of you were asking. We would have the right people come to join us to answer that question. On the support for this particular levy, this energy sector levy amended with the 1 cedi addition, 55% of the respondents say, you know what, taking into consideration the debt that is hanging around the energy sector and its impact that it would have, we support this. But then again, we want to see the money that would accrue from this energy sector levy that we are paying for when we buy petrol used for the purpose for which it has been put there. That is to clear the energy sector debt. In this media budget review, the finance minister says, all things being equal, 2.9 billion cedis would accrue from this levy's application or implementation. And that would also go into paying part of the energy sector debt. There's a proposed petroleum tax that was seen to solve the energy crisis. 55% say we support the tax. There are 22% who say we oppose this energy sector levy that has been imposed. Now, if you look at the party affiliation of the respondents, and it's a very detailed survey by Musa Dankwa, just to let you know that it wasn't just one that was one-sided, with just a group of people who think in one direction. 81% of them say they were NDC supporters, 31% say they are NPP supporters, so floating voters 54%, and others who say they're neutral. They go where their economic conditions take them. But this is the verdict of the people captured in Musa Dankwa's Global Info Analytics July poll. This is the diagnosis of the Finance Minister, Dr. Kasiel Atufo, of the economy that was bequeathed to this administration by the ex-Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo administration. And also for us here, the research team here at TV3 and Wisdom, also complementing and putting things together as the Musa Dankwa laid that foundation for us on the poll tracker. And this will be every week here on Key Point. Welcome back to Key Point on TV3, and that is the poll tracker. Reflects your views, your concerns, and your aspirations. You have a say in what we say here on Key Point. We're live on the Voice of London radio in the House of the City of London, also on DSTV channel 279, all across the world on 3news.com. Continue to share your thoughts, views, comments, and opinions with us. Read out to you and to the rest of the world. Joining me in the studio is Dr. Joshua Zato. He is a lecturer at the University of Ghana Political Science Department, a senior lecturer, and then also a political analyst. I thank you so much, Dr. Joshua Zato, for joining us. Good morning.
Good morning to you, and good morning to your listeners. Do I get to do my...
Maybe just a quick one.
Yeah, just a quick one. I want to start by saying that I want to thank the Minister of Finance. I also want to thank the Minister of Roads. I saw the media budget review, and there's something called the Big Push Program. On the Big Push Program, item number 2, 3, 4, all concerns routes in the Sisala area. And everybody knows anytime I'm on air, I'm talking about these routes, I've talked about them. So I want to say thank you for bringing them. Thank you for making them a key point here. I want to actually see it happen. So because of these roads, I'm cheering for the Big Push Program. Because of these roads, I'm cheering to make sure that it becomes a success. Because of these roads, I hope that it happens. So let me start by saying thank you, Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana. Thank you, Minister of Finance, and thank you, Minister of Roads, for putting this there. This is the agenda setting, and that is all it is. It is an agenda setting, policy recognition or problem recognition. I pray and hope that at the end of the day, it will come to fruition, but I just want to say thank you for this.
And it's for good reason. Anytime you see your love for your area is in many ways where you come from as well. So, as indicated in the big push, in terms of the roads that have been identified to be constructed, indeed falls within your constituency. We'll run through them as we go on. Joining us as well in the studio is a professor of finance at the University of Ghana Business School. He's a respected economist and financial analyst globally, Professor Godfred Bob King. Prof, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, good morning. And good morning to our cherished viewers and listeners. And thank you for having me on your show. And good morning, my good friend here.
Thank you, Prof. I'm sure we're going to have a class on economics and finance today.
Indeed.
Free class.
It certainly brings the depth and experience in terms of understanding what the state of affairs is and speaking the people's language and breaking it down so we can relate to what is happening and what really the statistics and the figures mean. Dr. George Domfe is an economist as well and also a research expert. He's joining us on Zoom right now, also in the University of Ghana, Legon. Dr. George Domfe, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good morning, Alfred, and thank you for bringing me back to Key Point. I'm always happy to be with you, and let me extend my greetings to my colleagues out there, Joshua, and Professor, my good friend, Professor Buckman. Prof, it's been a while.
Yes, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Great.
Great. Thank you very much for joining us. Also, shortly, I will be joined by the Honorable Atta Issa. He is a member of parliament for the Sagnerugo constituency, also a member of the finance committee of this 9th parliament. He's going to be joining us shortly. And then also would have Solomon Owusu, is a leading member of the Movement for Change and a social policy analyst. Solomon Owusu will be joining us shortly to have this conversation this morning. Now, taking into consideration what I just put there, and I'll start off with you, Dr. Joshua Zato. Does it also reflect the concerns and also your own sentiments? This is the measurement of the sentiments of the people over the last 6 months, or the first 6 months of the year, as captured in this poll. Does it reflect your sentiments as well?
Thank you very much. And again, you see, I always consider a budget statement of a government to also be a political document. And a budget statement also reveals the values and aspirations of a government or a president. And so even though we will tend to focus, or we seem to tend to focus on just the figures or the numbers, I think it is important that also know that budgets are also about values. Budgets are also about priorities, and budgets are also about what the government seems to put there. So I want to take it more from a policy perspective, not necessarily from a financial or economic perspective, because I think that will be captured very well. I want to fill on the foundations of which this budget was done. If you see, when the president presented his State of the Nation address, he said that Ghana was basically a crime scene. If you would follow what the finance minister has said since then, he has made it clear, or he's tried to make it clear, that the economic scene in the country, or what is happening with the economic front of the economy, is a crime scene. Literally, that almost nothing happened or nothing seems to be good in the country. We have made it look like when the economy was handed over to the government, almost everything was bad, was worse, and there was nothing to write home about. But today, as time goes on, we are beginning to see figures. We are beginning to see even statements from the government's own economic management, sometimes contradicting themselves, contradicting what they say or they keep saying about the past administration or the past economy and what the reality actually is.
What do you mean?
I will start by one thing. Look, there's this press statement or this message on My Joy Online. It was captured that, and this was on July 25th, 2025 at 1:22 p.m. Mohammed's government sees Akufo-Addo administration as having played a key role in stabilizing the economy. IMF report. And there's actually a quote in the report that I want to emphasize. It says, look, the fund stated that the authorities, Mohammed's government, see the latter, Akufo-Addo's government, as having played a key role in stabilizing the economy and in providing a credible anchor to address long-standing vulnerabilities and buttress confidence. This is what the FM is saying, that this is what the current administration is telling the IMF or foreigners about the Ghanaian economy. But you never see something like this in the statement that the finance minister raised. You never see something like that anybody raised. So when they are talking to Ghanaians, you make it look like, again, you inherited a crime scene, nothing was working, nothing was good, nothing was done. When you are meeting the IMF, when you are meeting foreigners, you praise the efforts of the former government in what they have done and how they've managed to bring it to I'm saying that when you keep doing the consistency is important. And this doesn't show consistency. Because the question then is the IMF is supposed to believe, or people or are they supposed to believe this, what you've told the IMF, or they're supposed to believe what you said in Parliament, where you pooh-hooed all that happened in the former administration. So I believe that we need to be consistent here. If you tell the IMF what you tell Ghanaians, and tell Ghanaians what you tell the IMF, let it be consistent. So you cannot on the one hand tell them that, oh, this was good, this was better, and now you come and tell us no good. When a finance minister does that, sometimes it may chip away at some of your...
With what you read, is it this administration telling the IMF?
Yes. No, that's what I'm saying. I'm reading from Joy FM. This is story. It's on Joy FM. The headline is, Mohammed's government sees Akufo-Addo's administration...
You read a phrase, a particular quote.
Yes.
What did they say?
It says, this is the quote, the fund stated that the authorities, Mohammed's government, see the latter, Akufo-Addo's government, as having played a key role in stabilizing the economy and in providing a credible anchor to address long-standing vulnerabilities and buttress confidence.
Well, so that's the IMF. That's the IMF quote you're reading.
Yes.
Okay.
Quoting, the IMF is saying that this is what the current managers of the economy are telling them about the former managers of the economy. In other words, they are saying that the former managers of the economy have done well and are doing well to buttress economy to what? Address long-standing vulnerabilities and buttress economy. Now, my point is that if that is what you are telling the IMF about the former managers of the economy, then you cannot turn around and look Ghanaians in the face and say the economy was managed is a crime scene. I'm saying those two statements are inconsistent.
No, what I was trying to point to you was that what you are saying is the IMF's quote and not this administration telling the IMF.
But that's the point. No. The IMF is saying that this is what the current is telling them.
Where is that in the...
It says the fund stated that the authorities in government see the latter as having played a key role in stabilizing the vulnerabilities. So it means that you've told them that you've expressed to them that you see that happening. That's the point I'm making. That there are two. You seem to be on the one hand, when it's IMF or external partners, you are telling that this is good, this was bad, this is how good it was. When it comes to when we are talking to Ghanaians, you state a different position. Secondly, I want to finance ministers in Ghana. I think they go through 3 phases. Every finance minister in Ghana goes through 3 phases. I'll call the first phase the baby phase or the holiday phase. This is when they come in. They are brimming with philosophy. They are brimming with energy. They are brimming with ideas. This is where they begin to immediately translate their manifesto ideas into actual policy. And this is where they mostly the governments are on their have their holiday period. People love them. There's big intention and there's big approvals. And here the governments do well. And almost every finance ministers enjoy this period. If you go back and you look at Kwesi Boche, if you go back and you look at Kwame Pepra, if you look at all of them, because the former government has just been defeated, morale is high, attitude is high. So this is that first phase of the economy. And I can say, yes, there are some good things to go with it too. Inflation is down, the CD is stabilized, and reserves are increasing, actually building on what the former government. So this is the phase that the finance ministers tend to have more fun. This is the phase where the finance ministers tend to want to do a lot of the things they want to do. Now, then after this, you go to the second phase. I call it the youthful phase or the real work phase. Here, we are talking about almost a year after this has been done. That's now the hard work. This phase, you cannot blame the former government for anything you've done. And I want to say, now from today onwards, this economy is not more the Akufo-Addo Bawumia economy. No. This economy is seriously John Dramani Mahamed's economy now. And I want to say it's important for us to know that from this day, you cannot continue blaming the former government for anything I've done. You have fully owned the economy. And it's important that we do that, because whenever we are giving finance ministers that room, we are encouraging them for lapses. No, you have now fully owned the economy, and now everything that economy is yours.
I don't think it's wrong to say that the finance minister should let the people know the economy that this administration inherited. There's no problem with that.
Exactly, I agree. It was done in March in the budget. We were told what happened. After that, you have followed up now with this current update to tell us that, look, again, this was what we inherited, and this is what we've done with what we inherited, and this is where we are. Now, I'm saying that after this period, it becomes unfair for you to now be blaming the former government for anything, because, again, you've told us. It is a crime scene. It is everything. It is now, you now fully own the economy. So that's what we talk about the youthful age, where you now have to make it work. You now have to implement your policies. That is where finance ministers begin running the problem. That is the difficulty part. And then you will go to a third phase. That third phase comes, let's say, somewhere in 2028 when it's an election year. Most finance ministers sacrifice a lot. They work very hard. They do the right things. But can they sustain an election year? And almost everybody tell you, usually we do that, we'll sacrifice, we'll do all the hard work. And then when it gets to an election year or close to an election year, we throw everything out because it's important. At that time, the politicians will not give you the freedom. At that time, the party operators will not give you the freedom. At that time, all is about winning elections. So we need a system to sustain what we are doing now. We need a system to make sure that we don't sacrifice the hard work we've done just for elections. We need a system to make sure that we don't blow off the inflation figures just because elections are coming. So for me, things look good right now. The managers of the economy is doing well. There are certain aspects of the statement of the economy that even the IMF themselves have raised serious concerns about.
So, are you saying that the last 6 months, what has this administration done well? Because you've pointed out a lot of things that they haven't done, and then also talking about what the fund says, this administration said about the previous administration and what they did to also help achieve where we are now. What have they done right?
Inflation is down. That is a fact. Inflation is down. And I'm not one of those who will go and say, what is the price of kinky? What is the price of fish? No, I'm not going there. Inflation is down. We just got that the energy inflation, electricity inflation has gone. I know, but general inflation is down. That is a good thing. The interest rate is stabilized. Again, there are concerns about the IMF, about how much money the government is pouring into it. But it doesn't matter now. The interest rate is stabilized. The city is stabilized. That's a good thing too. The economic projections rate, I think, is projected to grow up to 5% or so. That is still good because last year the economy grew by 5.7%. So we are expecting either to have that or higher than that is good. So yes, I'm saying that these indicators are good. But the point I'm making is that anybody will tell you, you cannot achieve these indicators if your description of the former economy are true. I'm just trying to understand that it's not because it's not possible. Look at the export cover, about 4 months. Now we have about export 4 months cover. 3 months before the former government left, about 3 months export cover. So you've added 1 month. Let's always acknowledge at least the good or the small successes of others. You've added something and we are going. So that's what I'm talking about, the fact that now you cannot or you do not have the right anymore to blame the former government for this comment. This is now official, and from now onwards, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama's economy, and we must accelerate that. From now onwards, if we hear the finance minister or anybody for that trying to blame anything in the economy on the former government, it is blame shifting. You are just blaming the wrong person.
Because you referenced the IMF report, and it's good that, you see, one of the things I like to do is that when you reference a particular document, you look at it in whole. You understand? And not in parts, so that we get a full picture of what the IMF's diagnosis of the state of the economy is, based on what was inherited and what is now. If you look at the details of the IMF report, and I'm going to specifically reference you to page 169, it says, faced with large policy slippages and reform delays at end 2024, the new administration has taken bold corrective actions to maintain the program on track. Now, if you listen to the finance minister after this media budget review presentation, he detailed quite clearly that the IMF raised concerns about the slippages and then also the specific diversion of the policy focus in terms of the IMF's own targets that the previous administration deviated from. So take a listen to this part, the point 3. They have adopted, this administration have adopted a raft of policy measures and reforms to ensure the achievement of program targets. These include enacting a 2025 budget consistent with program objectives and legislative amendments to strengthen Ghana's fiscal framework and institutions, essentially tightening the monetary policy stance and resuming quarterly electricity tariff changes to reflect past cost and exchange rate development, while accelerating the restructuring of Ghana's electricity company and they captured the recent economic developments, economic growth that has exceeded expectation, but inflation has remained high and persistent. This is also captured in the IMF report that you referenced as well. So it wasn't all doom and gloom, or the administration, or that's the IMF also did acknowledge what this administration has done, is it not?
No, and I've said that. I'm saying that, so again, exactly. So I want that if we are presenting the state of the economy to Ghanaians, we should present it like that. We should say that, look, these were the positives of the former administration. Yes, some things went wrong. We all know, Ghanaians experienced it. But that this was what was good. My point is that if all the time you are talking about the doom and the gloom of the former administration, if all the time your argument is that it was a crime scene, nothing good was happening, but then on the other hand, the IMF is saying that certain things happened, then those two statements are contradictory in and of themselves. And we do not want that from a finance minister. We want a finance minister to be able to say, yes, even if I disagreed with their philosophy and ideology, even if I agree with their economic management model, even if I disagree with some of the policies they implemented, these are some of the positives of those policies, and these are some of the negatives of it. Nevertheless, today we have been able to do this so that we can continue, because the idea that every finance minister comes and every president comes and tries to poo-hoo what the other administration has done just so that they win some political sympathy or not is wrong. It doesn't help us with our political credibility. That's the point I'm making. Tell the true story. Tell the real story. They were good, they were positives and negatives, the former administration. We implement, because one day we'll review this economy too. And every economy will tell us that these were the highlights of the current administration. This was what you did good and this was what you did bad. When you present such a balanced report, it supports your credibility and it supports what you are doing going forward.
No, Professor Bopin, this is why I bring you in, because what we were talking about was the sentiments of the people. But you've seen clearly the fight for credit as to who should be giving credit for the state of the economy now, as we are saying. Clearly, a lot is pointing in the right direction, as was captured in the budget by the finance minister. And in fact, the IMF document in the fourth review also captures their own diagnosis of what the state of the economy is in terms of the direction and then also achieving policy targets. This fight for credit as to who should be giving credit for where we are now, what's your verdict on this?
Well, thank you very much. Certainly, governance is a continuum. We recognize that we have come very far and all of that. And Alfred, not to do the politics of it, they do this kind of optics against each other, right? If you review the 2017 budget of the MPP when they took over after the 2016 election, and you even take a careful look at the State of the Nation Address 2017, I mean, you will see these optics running across and all of that. But we can discern where perhaps there's a change in terms of direction in how things are done. And typically, I don't rush in attributing credit. But of course, again, after the 2016 election, we were under an IMF-supported program. And the previous administration had equally made some good progress and all of that. In there as well, we learned that because of the way we organized the 2016 election, we had more or less or substantially derailed the program objectives at the end of 2016. The new administration put in measures to bring back the program. Again, you can see history repeating itself in 2024. But Alfred, I think that there is considerable room. That's my view, and Ghanaians should forgive me. There is considerable room for the current administration to take credit.
There's considerable room for the current administration to take credit.
You cannot run away from that. The data is supportive, and I'll give you the basis. If you look at the pace of progress we're making until 2024, and you look at the pace of progress after the change in government, you can see clearly a new direction, clear intention, a certain drive to make development people focus. Right from COVID, the prominent call was that we need to switch substantially to expenditure-based fiscal consolidation. Unlike the traditional revenue-based fiscal consolidation that puts a lot of burden on households and businesses. The previous administration did not listen. Alfred, that's a fact. I've compared the two regimes.
Yes.
In 2017, when the MPP took over, right, they actually increased total expenditure in 2017 over the 2016 base by more than 30%. That's how much expenditure shot up over 2016. That is not fiscal consolidation in all the elements of it. But look at what this current administration has done. In 2025, and that is why if you read the IMF fourth review report, substantial credit was given to the current administration for the aggressive approach towards expenditure cuts, or what we call expenditure-based fiscal consolidation, in restoring the program, and also part of why we are seeing this kind of progress. If you look at, in nominal terms, how much the current administration actually shrunk expenditure, huge. That is not the only thing. If you look at what the finance minister presented during the media review, apart from cutting nominal expenditure in the actual budget, in the implementation, you will see more than 1.2 billion Ghana cedis in the expenditure cut, so as to more or less like bring the economy back on track. What that does, and the space and the confidence that gives to monetary side to also do what they have done, is that there is now fiscal discipline that allows monetary policy to be deployed effectively to bring down inflation and then subsequently engineer growth. So for me, and again, look at it this way. If you look at the first 6 months of the MPP's administration in 2017, the rate of inflation coming down was much slower than the rate at which we've seen inflation decelerating in 2025.
In the first 6 months?
In the first 6 months. In fact, inflation, the MPP took over inflation of 15.4% in December 2016. By June 2017, inflation had come down to 12.1%. The current administration took over inflation of 23.8% December 2024. June, inflation had come down to 13.7%. If you look at the rate of disinflation, quite aggressive. You can trace all of this to fiscal measures. You can trace all of this also to monetary intervention. And again, I've said on this show that if the previous administration, the governors of Bank of Ghana, had 40% of the level of fiscal discipline and leadership we see right now, they wouldn't have left office at the exchange rate that they presided over. Because as at October 2024, they had enough reserves to push down the exchange rate. But of course, given the uncertainty with the fiscal side, and in the run-up to the election, the propensity of fiscal indiscipline showing up, consistent with our past records and all of that, were very high, for which reason, they did not do what they wanted to do. So I think overall, I want to say that I've seen leadership here. I've seen, and I believe that the Minister of Finance couldn't have done what he has done without a strong backing from the president. Because if you look at the level of expenditure cuts or fiscal discipline, we haven't seen anything like this in our recent history. That's a fact. You can check the data. You can check. I've looked at budgets from 2001. I've looked at up to the current budget. I've tracked all of them, and you can see a certain drive towards expenditure-based fiscal consolidation, quite good, without burdening the faithful few in terms of taxes and the rest of them. Of course, there is a price. We have to manage a trade-off, and this will be my suggestion. Right. We have to manage a trade-off in such a way that the aggressive expenditure-based fiscal consolidation, we need to manage it going forward so that it doesn't weigh heavily on growth in the third quarter to the fourth quarter and going forward. And I understand from the proposition the Minister of Finance gave that they are aware of that. And that is why I have said before that 2026, 2027, 2028, the government cannot operate the same budget they are operating now with this same approach going forward, because they will need to manage the trade-off and begin to spend progressively. Whilst I commend, and here I commend the minister, because this is the optimal intervention that they needed to put in place, and the results are quite clear. And therefore, of course, we don't have a nationally approved formula for sharing credit as to which portion should go to the previous administration. Maybe you are a political scientist. You should be doing that. You should be doing that for us.
It will happen. It will happen.
You should be doing that for us.
It will happen.
I think that
politicians are selfish.
In as much as, and of course, I've also said that if you look at the reserves the current administration came to meet, we need to give credit also to the previous administration for building reserves and handing it over to the next administration. At the end of the day, it's Ghana that has won. I believe that beyond the optics, when these politicians sit down and they reflect, they know that they didn't only take over liabilities. They took over assets. They do it to each other.
Exactly.
but there's a reference that you make about the current state of affairs. That's important. You say that if the previous managers of the central bank had 40% of the kind of leadership that this central bank leadership is showing now, things would have been different.
I'm telling you, things would have been different. And look, let's go back and look at the press conferences that the previous governor had consistently. In fact, in the run-up to the crisis, which peaked in 2022, you could see clearly the governor raising concerns about fiscal indiscipline. Look, under the monetary policy framework that we are using, we call it inflation targeting. One key requirement for inflation targeting to be effective actually does not lie in the hands of the central bank. The key requirement for inflation targeting to be effective rather lies in the hands of the politicians, which is fiscal discipline. So you need fiscal discipline in order for inflation targeting to be effective in bringing down inflation and engineering good. So once you deny the monetary side that fiscal discipline, there is no way they can deploy monetary policy. In fact, it's the first time in a more recent of our history, let me put it that way, that we are seeing a strong coordination between the monetary side and the fiscal side. We are seeing, to a large extent, the complementarity between fiscal and monetary, which Governor Addison didn't get. So under the previous administration, our analysis tells us that instead of pursuing monetary policy as being complementary, we were rather pursuing it as subordinate to fiscal policy. We were essentially using monetary policy to sweep the mess created by the fiscal side. And it's the reason why we switch extensively to money printing, monetizing the deficit and monetizing our debt. When it happens that way, it doesn't matter the level of knowledge and technical insight from the central bank, they are incapacitated.
That's the over 60 billion loss that the Bank of Ghana recorded.
Yes, and that is what we call fiscal dominance of monetary policy. It renders the monetary policy largely ineffective.
So if you put it in clear terms, the governor was subordinate to the finance minister.
Yeah, a servant.
Kenneth Oriata, you're saying Dr. Addison was a servant to Kenneth Oriata?
Yes. I'm not saying it in terms of any other. I'm looking at the data, and that's what tells us. And you can look at the press conferences that the governor made consistently. Without being direct, he was raising concerns about the fiscal side, which perhaps was constraining the monetary side from doing what they have to do. And essentially, that's it. And again, go back to the Alfred. Let's go back to the original IMF-supported program. And if you look at the diagnosis of the IMF about the interaction between fiscal and monetary, you can see it's exactly the same point that I'm making here. I think that we've made enough mistakes in our history since 1992. And I'm happy, and let me say this, it looks to me that this government has listened and has listened adequately in terms of calls about the direction this economy should go, and they deserve to take the credit because you see, the measured expenditure cut that we had spoken about consistently over the period, and you would agree, right? This government has done that in a year, something that could have been done over 3 years or so. They decided to do it in a year. We criticized the IMF supported program when it was approved on May 17th, 2023, simply because the fiscal consolidation was heavily based on revenue rather than expenditure. And we said that is not the way to go. Okay, but look at something. The IMF is now telling us and crediting the current administration for the aggressive expenditure cuts that they have done in 2025 budget alone. But of course, as I said, we cannot continue on this part because the trade-off would now outweigh, and I believe that they are aware. The question now is, how do we manage that delicate trade-off and switch to progressive spending? Again, let me say that whilst the minister is on track, and the minister indicated that they are spending, I agree to a large extent. But this is where my disagreement comes from. The government is on track when it comes largely to social spending. Spending on education, spending on health, and social protection and the rest of them. But the government is not spending appropriately to match our infrastructure deficit that we need to invest in order to spell growth. Well, it's not his fault. It's not his fault. It's the current dynamics and all of that. So when we say that we are not spending, the sacrifice is in the area of capex. Right. So you could see the minister spoke about the fact that they are on track with Get Fund, National Health Insurance Levy, and they are social spending, wages and the rest of them. But then when it comes to paying contractors arrears and all of that, and also capex, you could see that the data there looks a bit dwarf. And here, I'm not blaming the minister. Given the current circumstances and the fact that they want to spend within their means, this seems optimal now, and I believe that going forward, they will begin to recalibrate the fiscal framework so that we can spend appropriately in the area of infrastructure to spell job-rich growth.
I'll come back to you whether the big push details would answer that question about spending a lot more.
Listing roads you are going to do is different from actually committing revenue right now to doing it.
I don't want to say that. Okay. I don't want to say that. My roads.
The point that I'm making is that I've seen that in the media review, they've outlined roads that they are going to do. These are good intentions. And I think I acknowledge that. But I'm saying that listing them, that we are going to do this and this, until you see commitment, cash flow disbursement, it's not going to happen. Look, you go back to 2017, go back to 2018, 2019, and see roads we have listed in our national documents.
Fred, I'm not cutting you short. These roads I've mentioned, I'm just saying, you can go to Kwesiboche, you can go to Kwame Pepra, you can come down to Osofoma, all of them. These two more roads, Wabolge has appeared in all these budgets. Again,
I'm putting it within context. I'm saying that under the current dispensation, the optimal approach is what government has adopted. And look, Alfred, I can just imagine the finance minister in the midst of his colleagues with all this expenditure cut and all of that, right? And I'm saying that there's no way he could have done this without a strong backing from the president. You see leadership on the table. But I'm also saying that going forward, and the minister had clearly indicated, so when they list those roads and all those things, they are telling us that 2026 budget will reflect all of this. And that is where you see the dynamics beginning to change and all of that. But whether we like it or not, when we say sacrifice, and politicians have called on Ghanaians to sacrifice and all of that, we've seen leadership when it comes to sacrifice in the 2025 budget. You hardly see opulence among ministers. And all of that, which is quite good. Look, if you go into the detail of the 2025 budget and you see the wasteful expenditure cut, even from the executive, and you look at it even from the judiciary, and you look at it from parliament and all of that, you can see that everybody is making considerable sacrifice. And that is the only way you can cut that expenditure, take away those tax handles, and still be able to record a primary surplus of 1.1% in the first 6 months. That's quite impressive. We have reduced our fiscal deficit to about 3.8% from the 4.1%. In fact, actually below the target we used to have in the Fiscal Responsibility Act of 5%, right, which we passed in 2018 and all of that. All of these things are good. Is the reason you have seen inflation decelerating sharply. And of course, that is good. It doesn't mean that prices are falling necessarily. It means that prices are increasing at a much slower pace now than before. Year on year, we can say that even if we look at June figure of 13.7%, by world average is still very high. But of course, given where we were per our own West performance, this is pointing in the right direction. So I'm expecting that from 2026, 2027, and all of that, that is quite good. And it's also comforting, Alfred, to see that government is on track in terms of our repayment. And there was something the minister said. In fact, before 2024 election, we had raised those issues about the maturity clustering of our restructured bonds in 2027 and 2028. I am happy that they are looking at building the sinking fund. The challenge also is that there's always trade-off. The money you store in the sinking fund, even if it's going at a certain interest rate, there's trade-off because you could have invested that money in financing infrastructure and all of that. But this is where we find ourselves. And I think it's all about how we manage that trade-off going forward so that we can have progressive spending and then to be able to engineer job-rich growth.
And the fiscal consolidation that you talk about, and that's one of the leadership that you referenced, that the finance minister couldn't have done this without the backing of the president. And we've seen that in many areas as well, and the cutting down of what you have always talked about, the governance cost.
Yes.
And the commitment to reduce the governance cost, as we have seen. Over time, when politicians talk about either sharing the burden or biting the bullet or tightening the belt, you see the pendulum swinging more to us, the people.
The mere mortals.
But you say that narrative has changed.
I think in the 2025 budget, you can see clearly that there's leadership by example on the table.
Okay.
The question is whether we'll be able to sustain that, right? So if they are able to sustain that, in fact, if this government with this approach, we had a fiscal space to be able to spend appropriately with a level of efficiency, we are likely to get higher growth. And again, if I look at the media review, I look at the IMF supported program, I think that, of course, my expectation was that Ghana should be declassified from high risk of debt distress to maybe moderate by now. But of course, given that the IMF program review looked at just December end data, okay, because if you look at the aggressive strengthening of the currency and what that has done to our debt dynamics, and then you again look at the fuel levy, right, which is bringing about 2.9 or so billion Ghana cedis. Yes. To the revenue stream, if you recalibrate the numbers, I think that we should be exiting the zone of high risk of debt distress to a more moderate. What that would also mean is that we can take advantage of that and probably renegotiate with our external bilateral creditors and the multilateral creditors so that we increase the cap on the how much project we can finance per year is $250 million. I think that is just too small, given our infrastructure deficit and even the priority list that the government has agreed with our the bilateral and then multilateral, including the IMF, and the fact that we'll finish that by 2028 looks too long for me. If you look at all that, the gains we are seeing right now, and you travel out of Accra, you see pain. The roads are not there, the infrastructure is very bad and all of that. What we need right now is to be able to act on time and at scale in terms of infrastructure development, because we've got the leadership. And of course, in this country, it's very difficult to guarantee credible leadership for long, right? So if you have it, you want to be able to make the most of it within that time. But I think that overall, Somebody said that NDC's gain is MPP's loss. MPP administration could have done this. They could have.
Now, since you referenced the external debtors as well, and what we are having to do going forward if the debt dynamics change, and how that picture will also reflect on honoring our external debt obligations. Yesterday, we got the information from the Finance Ministry that Ghana and France have signed this bilateral agreement to officially grant Ghana debt relief under the country's external debt restructuring program.
Yeah, under the G20 common framework.
That's instructive and a very important development when it comes to the debt dynamics. But let me acknowledge the presence of the Member of Parliament.
Yes, of course, Alfred. That is also a build-up on what the previous administration had done. If you look at the roadmap, the previous administration, in terms of signing the MOU and all of that, and of course, also for initiating the debt restructuring, which has created...
Which was as a result of the sacrifice of the people.
Of the people, even including our external commercial and external bilateral. It has been painful, but it has also created a certain fiscal space and room for this government to be able to launch the many interventions that they have done. And others have said that leadership is a continuum and all of that. Of course, they've done it at a certain scale that is a departure from the kind of this thing that we have seen. So,
Honorable Ataisa is a Member of Parliament for Saginago constituency, a member of the Finance Committee of this 9th Parliament. Honorable, good morning. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, too. Good morning to you.
Great. And Dr. George, I'm going to come to you, but take a listen to the Finance Minister, Dr. Kasila Atufosu, because, Professor Bopin, you talk about the spending and then also the fiscal consolidation that this administration has been on for the past 6 months, which you say has shown some level of leadership. But this is what the Finance Minister says in terms of responding to those who say, well, you have not been spending. That's why the economy looks this good in the last 6 months. Take a look.
It's been 6 months of hard work. We have lessened the burden on households and businesses. Mr. Speaker, contrary to the perception that we are not spending, we are indeed spending, and spending at the right places. We are making the right investment in the lives of the people of Ghana. Mr. Speaker, as we speak, an amount of $700 million US dollars of Eurobond obligations has been paid. An amount of 10 billion to domestic bondholders has been paid. Mr. Speaker, an amount of 2.9 billion Ghana cedis to the District Assembly's Common Fund has been paid. Mr. Speaker, an amount of 2.7 billion Ghana cedis to the Social Security and National Insurance Trust has been paid. Mr. Speaker, an amount of 9.1 billion Ghana cedis to the energy sector for stable power supply has been paid. Mr. Speaker, an amount of 5 billion Ghana cedis of arrest has been paid. Right, Honorable Speaker, an amount of 4.6 billion to the Ghana Education Trust Fund has been paid. Mr. Speaker, an amount of 1 billion Ghana cedis to the free secondary education program has been paid. Mr. Speaker, an amount of 4.6 billion Ghana cedis to the National Health Insurance Scheme has been paid. Right, Honorable Speaker, an amount of 1.4 billion for the National Health Insurance claims has been paid. Mr. Speaker, an amount of 252 million for vaccines and essential medicine has been paid. Mr. Speaker, an amount of 72.8 million Ghana cedis as capitation grant has been paid. Mr. Speaker, an amount of 895 million to the school feeding program has been paid. Right, Honorable Speaker, an amount of 477 million to the LEAP beneficiaries has been paid. Mr. Speaker, an amount of 122.8 million for BECE registration has been paid. Mr. Speaker, an amount of 300 million to the no fee stress policy has been paid. Right, Honorable Speaker, an amount of 191.7 million Ghana cedis as teacher training allowances has been paid. Mr. Speaker, again, an amount of 462.6 million as nursing training allowances has been paid. Mr. Speaker, an amount of 25 million as assembly members allowance has been paid. Mr. Speaker, an amount of 21 million Ghana cedis for National Apprenticeship Program has been paid. Right, Honorable Speaker. An amount of 34.5 million to the Jumawa program has been paid. Mr. Speaker, an amount of 2 billion Ghana cedis as goods and service to run effective and efficient government ministries, departments and agencies has been paid. Mr. Speaker, as we speak, an amount of 2 billion Ghana cedis to save the National Investment Bank has been paid.
Well, so that's the Finance Minister, Dr. Kasiela Tofo, saying, and Dr. Jodonfe, that's an answer to the question that prior to the budget presentation, you had been also, in fact, the position you held that the economy looks this good because there's no spending taking place. It's detailed quite a tall list of a number of things that he has been doing, spending. So you see growth or the increase in expenditure has been controlled because of the fiscal consolidation measures that we've seen this administration implement over the period, which Professor Bobkin says this is a sign of leadership at play. The minister is spending what has been approved. Because if you look at the planned expenditure with what has been spent, it's almost the same, I mean, slight difference to what has been approved. The 270 billion and over for this year, 102 billion was programmed to be spent in the first half of the year, per the details of this budget as we're saying. So does this detail answer the question that you were posing to him, that he's not spending, that's why the economy looks this good?
Alfred, let me thank you once again. Say very good morning to our cherished listeners. Yes, all the figures you talked about, they are on cash basis. On commitment basis, the situation is very different because the budget, the projected expenditure on commitment basis was supposed to be 270.9 billion Ghana cedis, and it has been revised slightly downwards to 269.5 billion. And if you look at the expenditure so far made, and when we have already beyond half, the first half of the year, I think around 140 billion. And so that tells you that still a number of people who were supposed to be paid, especially fathers and all those others, haven't been paid. And so, for example, I've been receiving my salary since January 2. And so there are certain payments that I cannot say it has not been made. They have. Yeah. But you see, sometimes the way we dramatize our achievement, our country is highly constrained. We face a lot of fiscal constraints. So sometimes it is good we try to be very modest and follow the path. I must say that we were always recording negative, fiscal, let me say negative primary balance. It has something to do with, and we all know what happened in 2017. For the first time in 2017, Ghana recorded positive primary balance. When we talk about price, it simply means that your total revenue is higher than your expenditure. If you put aside your debt obligation, put aside any expenditure made on debt, all those things, and you want to talk about all the other expenditure, then if you are able to create more revenue and that revenue exceeds your expenditure, and you have recorded the primary balance. And that is what measures fiscal consolidation. I want people to just mention fiscal consolidation as if it is something that you've never heard before. If you talk about fiscal consolidation, it's all about effort you are making to improve revenue generation by trying to control expenditure. And that captured by the balance, the primary balance. And I'm saying that the year 2017, 2019, Ghana for the positive primary balance. In 2017 was first primary balance recorded in 15 years. That is to suggest that as a country, we have been struggling. We are constrained. Now, we are talking too much about a certain fiscal consolidation that is moving all what we are doing. And I don't agree on the principle that last year, around this same, we when the finance minister came to present his media, Ghana have recorded positive primary balance. And so today, the positive primary balance of 1.1%, the finance minister talked about, and that is what is actually indicating the so-called fiscal consolidation that people have talked so much about. And it's not that the 1.1. And if you look to the you will see that do very well the first half of the year, but at the end of the year, we recorded negative primary balance. You know, so during especially there's a change in government. If you look back to history, that's what has been happening. Well, anytime there's a change in government, and they were very cautious, especially regarding the contracts, you know, and so sometimes they want to audit and be sure that things were done properly before maybe they make some commitments. And indeed, that's what we are seeing. And in spite of all what we have said, the primary balance, I don't know the amount, but it was 1.1% of our GDP. That's the total fiscal consolidation, the so-called fiscal consolidation. That is what is, I'm telling this, which means that a lot of things have happened, and we have to be very careful the way we give wrong attributions, because we want to talk about fiscal. Hello, if you want to talk about fiscal policy.
What do you mean by wrong attribution exactly? Who did the wrong attribution?
The wrong attribution.
What exactly do you mean?
The wrong attribution here is A has happened, and the probability that B is the reason for the A is very high. Because of some expediency and other things, you see people say it is the N that pushed, when it is obvious that C is, should have been the reason. I am looking at, for example, debt to GDP ratio that has now declined to 43.8%. Excellent. I love it. And Prof. Amibokin was right when he said that based on that, I think we have to, they should move Ghana far away from the danger, because now we are doing very well seriously in terms of our fiscal, our debt position. But you go back to 2021, and you realize that at the end of 2021 fiscal year, our total debt stock stood at $60 billion US. And it was when we entered 2022 that we had problem. We started, then Ghana government started what they call debt restructuring on 4 different, groups or categories of debt. Bilateral, for Bokpin was talking about the bilateral one that, bilateral, that is between country and country. Then another one was a Eurobond. Another one was a commercial. Another one was the domestic debt. The domestic debt exchange, the total amount was 20.3 billion. And the bond, especially for example, it was $13.1 billion. And through the negotiations, they agreed to slash off. They subjected the goal to 37% treatment, haircut treatment. That means that Ghana is to gain 4.7 billion. All these were done last. And so at the end of last year, everybody listening to me can challenge me, go to the Finance Ministry's website, there document every year the public annual debt and you will see all these figures that I'm talking about. At the end of 2020, our total debt stood at $60 billion in 2021, had declined to $48 billion. The discussion was still ongoing to see the total still now. Because if you go back again to 2021, you see that our debt to GDP ratio nearly hit 8%. And by the South African convergence criteria, we shouldn't have to go beyond 70% ratio. You are in that area, your debt has become sustainable. And we went beyond almost to 90. Our debt was unsustainable. Now, at the end of December 2024, the debt had declined to 61, debt to GDP ratio had declined to 61.8%. And the total debt stock in dollars had also declined all the way from.
No, I get your point. So so between January and now,
Alfred, so I will just
yes, because so you've laid this foundation quite a number of times. I just wanted us to zoom in.
Okay. I know, Alfred. It is important people get to know that 2021, our total debt stock was $6 billion, and put the debt restructuring by the end of 20.
Our total debt stock was how much?
It had dropped to $60 billion in 2021. And at the end of December last year, it declined to $48 billion. At the end of April this year, it has come down to $44 billion. At the end of April, that's where I have the figure. I have the figure of April. And you can clearly see that the new government hasn't done anything to push the debt to where it is. And I was surprised. I had Honorable Finance Minister, on one hand, blaming the old government for a gain in restructuring that affected so many gains. He touted to paint just so black. And then when it comes to the drop in the debt-to-GDP ratio to 43 points, he was telling Ghanaians that a certain fiscal consolidation has. I mean, it cannot be possible. It is not true, and it cannot be possible. Anybody who seriously understands, public sector, economics, and for that matter, how fiscal policy works, will tell you the fiscal consolidation is all about the increasing revenue and trying to reduce expenditure, which they have done very well. So we have a 1.1% surplus. In terms of the primary balance, which is very good, But that cannot bring down your debt because what it means is that you have not added on because of what you did. You have not added on. But what was there that had declined all the way from 48 point something, I've forgotten, it's 48 point something million it was at the end of December. At the end of December, to 44. What did you do to bring it down? The fiscal consultation cannot push it down.
So let me. I want to. Because the finance minister did give an answer to the question you were asking about what was done to bring down the debt within the last 6 months. Let's hear the finance minister give you that answer to that question. Because Professor Bobkin also wanted to make an intervention. I'll bring him very quickly after this. But this is what the finance minister said about what has been done, at least in the last 6 months, to bring down the public debt stock and then also the debt to GDP. And part of it we have seen is as a result of the improvement in the performance of the cedi as well against the dollar, because the dollar component of our debt has gone down essentially as a result of the appreciation of the cedi. Provoking, correct? It's correct, is it?
The appreciation has contributed largely to the...
Honorable Isa, just make a point very quickly. The intervention you wanted to make very quickly.
I was just trying to say that the situation is that...
Alfred,
yes, I'll come back to you.
So if you look at the debt stock of this country, it comprises of two, domestic and external. So if you are seeing a massive appreciation of your currency, for example, 42% of Ghana performance in terms of cedi against dollar. So all dollar-rated maturing debt will have to come down naturally.
Agreed.
So that is what we are not using the idea of fiscal consolidation as the anchor as to why the...
Yeah, but the fiscal consolidation is also contributing. Alfred, it's not every fiscal deficit that manifests explicitly in debt formation. We have what we call debt-reducing fiscal deficit when you are in the zone of primary surplus. So you are still recording deficit, but that doesn't manifest explicitly in debt formation, right? So that is why we use the primary balance as a fiscal anchor. Once you are recording primary surplus, you are in the debt-reducing fiscal deficit. But of course, given the magnitude, it hasn't contributed substantially to bringing the debt down, but largely because of the appreciation of the currencies. And again, even though the figure my good friend quoted is around 43 or so %, by the end of the year, we will be getting close to 50-something % if you put all the numbers together with the GDP growth at the end of the year. It will not be that 43%. It will go up to probably 54-55% or so.
Yeah, this is the finance minister's...
Alfred, Alfred, can I quickly come in? Alfred.
Yes, I'll come to you. I just want to hear
Alfred, I want to respond to this depreciation.
Yes, you'll respond. Because, yes. Let's take a listen to the finance minister on this.
Based on the revisions to revenue and expenditure, the following fiscal balance on cash basis improves from a deficit of 4.1% of GDP to 3.8% of GDP. I mean the fiscal balance. The overall fiscal balance on commitment basis improves from a deficit of 3.1% to 2.8%, and the projected annual borrowing needs of government reduce by 4.3 billion Ghana cedis. Simple put, we will be borrowing less by 4.3 billion Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, risk to 2025 budget, risk to the 2025 fiscal framework. Mr. Speaker, despite the robust fiscal performance, there are some underlying risks which pose a threat to the 2025 fiscal framework. The risks are as follows: shortfalls in customs revenue, smuggling of marine gas oil, mounting wage pressures, and pricing and award of contract in foreign currency. Mr. Speaker, I'll take them one by one. Customs revenue.
Dr. Domfe, this is the response of the yes.
Yeah. So let me quickly say,
if you could reposition, because your connection keeps breaking. Yes.
Yeah. Please, can you hear me well?
It's getting better. Yes, you can go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Somebody made an intervention trying to say that appreciation did very well because in Ghana, about almost half of our total desktop in dollars and half in cedis, and that's excellent. If you're talking about the debt, you are discussing about the debt in cedis. That's where this thing can play. If you have observed my line of discussion, I didn't bring in cedis. I talked about our total desktop to 60 billion at the end of 2021, and through debt restructuring, it declined to 48 billion at the end of December 2024, and at the end of April, it had dropped to further 24 billion. Talking about everything dollar, and so you can clearly see that the reason why our debt to GDP ratio, of course, when we are measuring with the dollar, our GDP, because to compare what is happening in Ghana to what happened in other countries, and so we look at the total GDP in dollars, and these are total GDP of the debt. And so what is even domestic, we want to push it there. Yeah. And so that is where the effect of the appreciation will come significantly. The reason why Ghana is where we are is because of the debt restructuring. It's done a lot, because over $6 billion has been slashed off, giving us that space. And talking about the consolidation, I've said that if you go back to the data, you see that we do well. Last year, we started the same primary balance that we have. So I will not agree that there was something reckless expenditure last year vis-a-vis what is happening. There's nothing to show that, because at the end of the day, the fiscal is a balance that tells us where we are with overall fiscal consolidation. So we have to be very honest when we are trying to make additions. We have to be very, again, talking about the fiscal consolidation effect on stock and decline. Fiscal consolidation, if you and the whole thing is about fiscal prudence. Fiscal prudence is that you are able to generate more revenue, and you are able to, and you spend it so well that the expenditure and revenue gap is always almost zero. That's the fiscal prudence. And if you are able to consolidate, sustain, it comes from the word sustain, so it's not anywhere. If you are able to sustain those gains in the fiscal prudence, so we tell me that fiscal consolidation, the way people that is fiscal consolidation is a certain thing that that's all it is about. And if you are doing that, what it means is that you are not adding on debt accumulation going down, right? But really that is hanging.
I'm losing you. I keep losing you. But there's a point that you made about. Yes, I keep losing you. If you could reposition, there's a point that you made about the debt situation, and you're saying it's all because of the debt restructuring. Professor Bokwe, what's exactly the point of departure that you have on this? And really,
if you look at the IMF supported program, which gave its blessing, essentially, to this debt restructuring. Remember, it was a trigger from the IMF because our debt to GDP ratio in present value terms, or our debt sustainability, we had breached the two main debt sustainability indicators. One, present value of debt to GDP ratio, which is a solvency measure, more long-term. We're supposed to be doing 55%. At the time they finished the debt sustainability analysis, we're doing 109%. This is what we're doing. So we were way above the policy dependency threshold.
Right.
The liquidity measure is what they call the external debt service to revenue ratio, which should not be more than 18%. Again, we're doing around 22, 23%. Now, to bring this down, we had determined that the traditional means, which was fiscal consolidation, was not sufficient in bringing the debt to GDP in present value terms to 55%. So we needed to do what they call burden sharing. Burden sharing between fiscal consolidation and then debt restructuring. And then they also determined that given where we were, restructuring our external debt alone was not going to be sufficient in bringing the debt to GDP ratio to 55%. So we needed to restructure our domestic debt. So the domestic debt was also supposed to contribute 8 parts. Then the external debt. Factoring all this into consideration, Ghana was supposed to reach the present value of debt to GDP ratio of 55% by 2028. That is if you factor the gains from the debt restructuring and then the fiscal consolidation together with the domestic debt testing. Now look at what the data is telling us now. Because of what this government has done with the steep expenditure cuts, right, and then again with the aggressive strengthening of the currency, we have actually brought that forward a bit. So we could actually reach the 55% way ahead of 2028. In fact, by the middle of 2026, we should be reaching that. And it's the reason why in my earlier submission, I made a point that my strongest view is that in the fifth review, which will happen in September, Ghana certainly will move from being classified as high risk of debt distress to more moderate because the dynamics would all show. I understand that when it comes to the liquidity ratio, because we are spending more than 30% of our revenue on debt servicing. Now, if you recalibrate the numbers with the One Ghana levy, which is bringing about 2.9 billion Ghana cedis or so, and the other interventions, then probably we should be lowering that as well going forward. So yeah, the debt restructuring has contributed, but of course, the gains we've seen from the fiscal consolidation in 2025, together with the aggressive strengthening of the currency, when you market to market in terms of our external debt and also even the CD denominated in dollar terms, it goes down. What it also means is that if we had a space and the opportunity was there for us to pay down our debt, we'll actually be doing so at least cost now than what would have happened in the time past. But of course, again, let me say that all of these are nominal, notional, until you are able to pay down at those low exchange rates. So what is important for Ghana is to be able to maintain this momentum and discipline so that as we migrate more towards progressive spending, we pursue efficiency in that part, then we can engineer job-rich growth.
Honorable Sir, this is the verdict of the finance minister on the economy that was bequeathed to him by the previous administration. And the nature of the fundamentals, as he put it, and what has been done over the last 6 months. That Professor Godfrey Boppin keeps referencing the fiscal consolidation, the sacrifices that have been made, and then also where the gains of these sacrifices have been put to. Because it's very important. It's not so much about making the sacrifices and making gains out of the sacrifice. What you do with the gains from the sacrifice is as crucial as the sacrifice itself. And this is what the finance minister said. Take a look.
All right. So let me... Viewers and listeners across the country and beyond, and also to my lecturer and the other panelists. I will... He didn't know. I'm your PhD class.
And our potential to rise from the brink. Upon assumption of office in January this year, we were handed an economy in deep distress. a country with dispirited citizens. Trust and faith in our leaders were at all-time low. The fundamentals were not only weak, but broken. Mr. Speaker, and the misery and suffering were palpable. Mr. Speaker, in just 6 months, in fact, under 200 days, under the decisive leadership of President John Mahama, we have begun to change the story. Mr. Speaker, President Mahama's economic management model is working. The turnaround is in sight. Mr. Speaker, the signs of economic progress are visible and measurable. Mr. Speaker, first quarter economic growth is at 5-year high. Our debt to GDP ratio is at a 5-year low. Mr. Speaker, inflation has declined to a 4-year low. Right Honorable Speaker, our credit rating has improved from junk to B- with stable outlook, a 2-notch upgrade and a 4-year high. Right Honorable Speaker, we have almost reversed all the cedi depreciations in the years 2022, 2023, and 2024, with no cedi depreciation in the year 2025. Mr. Speaker, the level of the appreciation of the Ghana cedi has never happened in the history of our nation. Prices of petrol and diesel at the pump have reduced significantly to the benefit of consumers. And the price of sugar, rice, and cooking oil at a 4-year low. 4-year low. Mr. Speaker, the price of 25 kilogram bag of Royal Aroma rice, which used to be sold at 650 Ghana cedis in January, is now being sold for 356 Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, I now present updates on key policy initiatives outlined in the 2025 budget. Right Honorable Speaker, since its establishment in April 2025, the Ghana Gold Board has initiated reforms to licensing regime that governs the local gold trading sector and introduced new aggregation system to effectively mop up gold from artisanal small-scale mining sector across the country. These measures have already yielded tangible economic benefits within the short period of operation of the Ghana Gold Board. In the first half of 2025 alone, gold export from the small-scale sector stood at 51.5 tons with an export value of approximately $5 billion. This figure far exceeds the 26.4 tons which are with an export value of $1.8 billion from the small-scale mining sector over the same period in 2024. Mr. Speaker, simple put, gold export in tons from the small-scale mining sector for the first half of 2025 recorded about 100% increase over what was recorded in the year 2024. Similarly, the value of gold export from small-scale mining increased by about 180% for the first half of 2025 over that of the same period in 2024. Mr. Speaker, for the first time in Ghana's history, gold export from small-scale mining sector have exceeded gold export from large-scale sector. Mr. Speaker, the substantial foreign exchange inflows from the gold board operations in the artisanal small-scale mining sector have significantly strengthened our reserves, improved our balance of payment, and provided critical support for the Ghana cedi. Mr. Speaker, this tells a story of a country which has been denied the full benefit of its gold resources, a story of a country where illegal gold trade and smuggling have been allowed to fester to the detriment of the well-being of the people. Right Honorable Speaker, on the 8th of July 2025, His Excellency President John Mahama inaugurated a task force to tackle illegal gold trade and smuggling.
That's Dr. Kasela Tofolsing's verdict on the state of the economy that he inherited and what has been done in the last 6 months, ending on the note of the contribution of the Gold Board to the state of affairs, specifically with the strengthening of the currency. Honorable Issa, that point, no, I'll come to you, Dr. Zato. The point about what the economy was and what is now, and that fight about who should be taking credit. Professor Bobkin has made it quite clear that yes, there's enough room for this administration to have taken credit for what is happening now. Dr. Zato is on the path that some things were done by the previous administration that need to be acknowledged when it comes to where we are now, referencing what the IMF said in a particular report. But Dr. Zato, that report you referenced, the statement that you quoted, was actually in reference to the fund-supported program and not necessarily the previous government. So we'll display the full statement on what the IMF said as we go on to understand the context that statement was made. Honorable Sir.
All right. So, in fact, before I even start with my presentation, I just wanted to respond to a few issues. First of all, the finance minister came under Section 28 of our PFM Act to present an update as to the budget performance and the direction of the country towards the end of the year. In fact, what is usually happening in most instances when a finance minister presents a mid-year review, it is often characterized by introduction of tax handles and then adjustments of their fiscals. But what we saw recently is an accountability tool on some of the beginning projections that we had made and the successes of various programs that the government has rolled out. So to that end, you need to, if you are doing an accountability, you need to state the position of the country at which you inherited it. So if you see Dr. Atuforsen talk about the challenges that he inherited and then the measurable gains that he has chalked, I don't think it is out of place for him to do that. And I'm not sure the platform was meant to sing praises for the MPP. I think that the MPP is also well vexed with opportunities that they can sell their story. That's what I would say. And then the second point is that, in fact, if you look at the 2021 Annual Public Debt Report, the executive summary, page XVII, the total public debt stock of this country was not $43 billion in 2021. And I'll read. The provisional debt stock of outstanding public debt as at end year December 2021 was 351,787 million Ghana cedis. In dollar terms, 58.6 billion US dollars. In fact, the debt to GDP was not around 40-something%. It was 76.6%. So let's not try to equalize when there is no need for that. And let me disagree a bit here with regards to government not spending or spending in productive sector. If you look at the growth projection, in fact, the outturn for first quarter and second quarter, about 5.3% growth. But the third contributor of that growth is industry. The first is agri. So if it is not, the government is not spending, the drivers of the growth should have rather been in the service sector. That is what I would say. And the service sector is no longer leading the growth of this country. The third issue is that, Prof, most of the times, yes, I agree, if you look at the total expenditure on commitment basis, it might not show a clearer picture, especially when first two quarters, the finance ministry reported that government has contained expenditure at 109.6 billion Ghana cedis. So if you take 109.6 billion out of 227 billion that we projected to, 279 billion that we projected to spend, it might not tell a good picture. And Alfred, for me, my study is that most of the time, commitment basis reporting is either under the IFRS reporting standard, IMF standard, and that of IFSTAS. And it is just used for multi-year expenditure commitments and also commitment that extends beyond the financial year. So on cash basis, you are reporting on total expenditure that is expected within the year. So I don't think expenditure on commitment basis is a true reflection of how government should spend for a particular year because it includes future obligations. So for example, if you borrow an amount of 22 billion Ghana cedis to execute a project, and for 2025, you are expected to spend only 10 billion out of the 22. The commitment basis reporting will say you should report the entire 22 billion. So when you strike a percentage of actual expenditure against expenditure on commitments basis, you'll be telling the wrong story for the 2025 year. Look, CAPEX. In fact, 2 days ago, government announced that a total validated payments that will be done this year of 28.3 billion Ghana cedis to contractors. Contractors have started receiving checks as we speak. Yes, I can tell you for a fact.
So you see the spending has been backloaded to the next half of the year.
Yes. And that's what I'm saying, that if you are expecting a cash commitment expenditure of 206 billion and you are currently doing 109.6 billion, you have performed more than half. That's what I'm saying. But many people are using the expenditure on commitment basis. And I'm saying that it is just a reporting on budget execution by IPSAS, IFRS, and the World Bank and the IMF. But it doesn't measure the total expenditure commitment for 1 year. It includes future obligations that immediately you sign a contract, the total amount of money that you are expected to report under commitment is the total value of the project. But you know that the payment will be structured in multi-year in terms of the payment repayment structure.
But the fulfillment of the expenditure and on commitment basis change the picture of the economy as it looks now.
Exactly. That's my point. It doesn't tell a full story like this is, you are expected to spend 269 billion. You have spent only 109 billion. You and I know that the 269 billion, it is not the total expenditure expected at the end of December 2025. It is only expenditure on cash basis. That is what reflects this year's commitment. And that's the point I'm just driving at. And then, look, let's admit it. I don't want us to be pessimists. Yes, the finance minister was also quick to add that we are not out of the woods yet. So we must be cautious, especially with the level at which we arrogate some level of praise to ourselves. And I'm not the type of person that will be against apportioning credit to MPP when there is a need. And I think, Prof, you can help us by isolating the contribution in terms of the MPP policies on the macroeconomic indicators improvement that we are seeing. Alfred, inflation, we must commend the finance minister in several folds. First of all, if you look at the macroeconomic indicators, you realize that, let's take inflation for example. Ghana in March 2025 projected an end-year inflation of 11.9%. Half year, we have already brought it down from 23.8% to about 13.7%. And it is not only that. Go to the components of the CPI, you see that food inflation has decreased to 16% now. In fact, producer price index is from 24% as at the end of 2024, it has reduced to 5.9%. And I am not surprised why the approval ratings for the 2025 budget is high on the streets of Accra and many other parts of the country, because it is reflecting in the day-to-day activities of the Ghanaian. The price of goods and services are on the decline. As a member of the Trade Committee, we met with GUTA, AGI, Importers and Associates, and the feedback was that over 4,500 products that is being traded in Ghana has seen massive price cuts as a result of the gains that Dr. Tuforson and the government has made. In fact, the growth in non-oil GDP is also strong because we have done about 6.8%, which we haven't recorded since 2018. People always attribute economic difficulties over the last 8 years to post-2020, that it was when COVID came. In fact, the non-oil growth rate that we are seeing now, the last time we saw similar thing was in 2018. And at that time, I'm not sure there was COVID-19. If you look at the external sector performance in terms of exchange rate, my professor is here. Look, a lot of times, African debt portfolio increases as a result of exchange differentials. It need not necessarily mean you have borrowed. But once you have a depreciation of your currency, all maturing external debt goes up without necessarily adding more debt. So we have to pat ourselves perfectly this time round, because you took an end-year spot rate of inflation on December 31st as around 16.4 Ghana cedis in some forex bureaus. And all external debt that was maturing would have been paid at that spot rate as at that time. Now, that same debt, even if you haven't added debt, according to the Bank of Ghana rate, is 10.45. But even let's grant it in the forex market around 12. That same external component debt that has matured will reduce substantially, even though you haven't added new debt. So that is why I'm saying that I am happy, because you can inherit a total debt portfolio of about 726 billion. That is even minus state-owned enterprises' own balance sheet debt that we can discuss later. And you have brought it down to about 613 billion. A decline of 113 billion Ghana cedis. We cannot say we shouldn't celebrate over this. So for me, it gives us hope in terms of our fiscal consolidation and how we are ensuring that Ghana do not return back to the fiscal distress that we inherited. And people always argue when it comes to the financial sector. I want to tell a story here. In fact, I remember in 2017, 18, and 19, the reasons that was always ascribed to the difficulties that Ghanaians were facing was as a result of the banking sector cleanup. In fact, by the end of 2024, government has spent a cumulative amount of 30.3 billion Ghana cedis in terms of liquidating the banks, ensuring proper good governance strategies, and making sure that the banking sector is more robust and viable and reduce non-performing loans. So the expectation was that you would have seen reduction in non-performing loans. You would have seen improved capital adequacy ratios of various banks and seen quality assets of various commercial banks. What did we see? First of all, look at the local participation regime of our banking industry as we speak. You collapse all indigenous banks. Go and look at the total participatory rate of Ghanaian-owned private bank. You hardly find them. Number two, a state-owned bank that was established to solve a national issue, for example, like the National Investment Bank, that was intended to drive the industrialization policies of this country, then the Agriculture Development Bank, ADB, that seeks to anchor our agriculture transformation programs. Those banks were on ground. In fact, NIB, a capital adequacy ratio of negative 53%. Despite we spending 30.3 billion Ghana cedis. What is the legacy? So, for me, when we are beginning to raise issues and successes that we have chalked, you look at the trajectory, what we inherited. There's no way you can talk proper about it without referencing the situations that we inherited. Alfred, if you look at...
You mentioned the financial sector.
Yes.
Some 2 billion cedis has been allocated for the recapitalization of the National Investment Bank.
Yes.
And within the week...
A requirement from the IMF.
From the IMF.
No problem.
So it was a prior action that the government needed to meet before the fourth review went to the executive board for approval,
and the
to ensure
release.
non-negative capital adequacy ratio of NIB.
Yes.
And then 2 other prior actions and all of that. So of course, government responded to that. So,
in fact,
but this week we saw also the bank putting out a statement in the first 6 months they had recorded some profit, which is very interesting.
In fact, go and look at their depositors.
I agree. The approach the government has adopted in restructuring the banking sector, I think is optimal. If you look at how they are positioning NIB and then how they are positioning NIB and ADB, and I think it is fair to commend government for that. And I think going forward, look, let's not kid ourselves. There is no way this country can develop for the people of Ghana without being intentional about supporting indigenous businesses. And the state must give its full support to that. Look, otherwise, look, we talk about growth. We've seen positive growth in this country, but the growth actually did not impact Ghanaians. We have celebrated jobless growth. In fact, local content in our economy is visibly missing. All the lucrative sectors of this economy, check the local content. In fact, there's nothing Ghana about the Ghanaian banking sector. So I agree, and I think it is fair for me to commend the Minister of Finance. If you look at the board composition and the direction they are giving in terms of these state or indigenous banks, I think that is commendable, and I think we need to do more. I see the minister calling on Ghanaians to start doing business with NIB and all of that. Government should lead by example here. We have to be able to position Ghana Commercial Bank, position NIB and ADB in the next 5 years. They have to have the balance sheet to be able to do big ticket transactions. Without that, this country will not make the much transformation we have desired.
So, Alfred, I just wanted to play what the finance minister said about the NIB, National Investment Bank. And also joining us is security analyst and also with the Ghana Armed Forces Command.
But I hope I will get the opportunity.
Yes, you will. Dr. Ishmael Norman, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Alfred.
Happy
to be here.
Fantastic. And Solomon also is going to be joining us in a minute as well. But this is what the finance minister said. Take a look.
Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, after spending a whopping 30.3 billion in the so-called financial sector cleanup exercise, the previous NPP administration left NIB in dire straits with a capital adequacy ratio of a negative 53.13% by end of June 2024. Mr. Speaker, we have successfully, Right Honorable Speaker, President Mahama and the NDC have successfully recapitalized the National Investment Bank by implementing an ambitious and credible plan to return NIB to profitability and sustainability. Mr. Speaker, we have taken the following steps. Right Honorable Speaker, we have injected a total cash of 450 million Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, we also issued remarkable bonds with face value of 1.5 billion Ghana cedis to the National Investment Bank. Mr. Speaker, we transferred 500 million Government of Ghana shares in the Nestle Ghana Limited to the National Investment Bank. Right Honorable Speaker, these transfers have significantly improved the capital adequacy ratio from negative 53.13% at the end of December 2024 to a positive 23% in May 2025. Mr. Speaker, by taking these major steps, we have preserved depositors' fund valued at 6.4 billion Ghana cedis. We have also saved over 900 direct jobs at the National Investment Banks. Mr. Speaker, we have preserved an indigenous Ghanaian bank. But Mr. Speaker, let me say this. Unlike the previous administration, we chose to spend to save a bank than spend to collapse a bank.
Well, so that's Dr. Kasiel Atoforsen's verdict on the state of the banking sector. I think that the evidence of what the NIB was in terms of its financial situation cannot be debated. I think that's clear. If you go on their website, you see the financial statement that was captured in there, reflecting exactly how the picture of the bank was and what is being done now. Albeit, even if it's Professor Walken, it was an IMF requirement, there had to be some commitment to turn it around. Because at some point, we're mulling the idea of merging it with ADB or collapsing it entirely. So there had to be some rethinking to revamp the fortunes of the bank as we are seeing now. Yeah, and that's the trajectory that we see going forward.
And also, if you look at the appointment of the board chairs with Frank Edu Jr., these are people, and Kenneth Thompson, these are people who are seasoned bankers in the industry, and I think that they will lead the restructuring. I also hear the minister mentioning that they are looking at listing on the Ghana Stock Exchange and all of that. And I think that part of our economic transformation we should be looking at, we must be intentional and we have to track it, baseline data, where we are increasing indigenous holding and participation in this economy. That is the only way growth will be resident here, and then growth will benefit Ghanaians. So I think that the signs are quite good for them. Yeah.
Okay. Now, yes, conclude on the point you're making.
So, if you look at the financial sector, like I was saying, the story I was telling was not the amount that was recapitalized at NIB. I was looking at how much we spent in cleaning up a supposed mess in the last administration. 30.3 billion. When NIB would have just used 3.4 billion Ghana cedis to recapitalize it and return it back to profitability. That is the story I want to say. And people saying that, government is not, we are crowded out private sector. Yesterday I heard the minority state that position. And it is not also supported by the data once again. Because if you look at credit growth in terms of the private sector, access to credit, it has grown by 31%. So how can government be crowding them out when private sector capital has grown by 31%? In fact, the success story, however, is that we have reduced interest costs on T-bills. And Prof, at the Finance Committee meeting when we were considering the media, the story we had was that domestic interest alone, the savings we have made on domestic interest alone as a result of the reduction in the T-bill raise, it's almost 4.9 or 4.3 billion Ghana cedis.
I read 4.9 billion.
4.9 billion Ghana cedis because of the TB rate reduction. And then other people are here to. So what I would say is that if you also come to invest, whether people are having confidence once again in our country, Prof has stated it already. You look at it from the perspective of even the rating agencies. Gradually, before the elections, Ghana was always described as almost a junk economy. Now,
we have not left there practically.
Yes, but the outlook, but
we've made progress.
Substantial progress, with some better outlook than we inherited. In fact, they are even reviewing our creditworthiness for us to return back to the capital market. In fact, the legacy of President Akufo-Addo was that he locked us out of the capital market. That normally gives us concessionary rates in terms of borrowing. So if you look at the confidence that people have, and it is reflected in the what we call the net capital inflows in this country. From January to June, the net capital inflows alone was $792 million, and this is in the IMF report. So if you are seeing a capital inflows into your country, it tells you that external partners are having once again the confidence that Ghana is a place to do business, and there's ease of doing business in Ghana. That is a success story that the government must tell. And then, yes, it is not obvious that there were no challenges. And this is the difference between the two governments and those who want comparison. Alfred, we saw that 2017, I hear Prof and Dr. Sato always say that this is honeymoon period for the new government. However, the difference between this one and the previous one was that our honeymoon is characterized by humility and action-oriented, and not kinky parties and e-levy cakes. That is the difference between the two governments.
Those things didn't happen during the honeymoon.
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I'm just waiting for you to finish. Yours characterized by spraying dollars on Agrada. Yours by spraying dollars on Agrada. That is what yours characterized by, spraying dollars on Agrada.
I'm saying that it is not characterized by opulence. The success story is also reflected in the humility of the government. We have acknowledged that they still pose some fiscal risks that can throw us back into the difficulties that we inherited. For example, the wage bill pressures. The finance minister has outlined that as a major risk factor that can affect the government again. And that is why we commissioned
and I'm sure to calm organized labor in terms of next negotiations.
Yes.
Guys.
No, but the truth of the matter is that, in fact, wage bill alone has exceeded almost 1.3 billion Ghana cedis above what we targeted to spend. So it tells you that there's a problem there, considering the narrow fiscal space that we have. I won't say we inherited. Then we still have issues of custom revenue and all those things. So if you look at it globally, for me, I am comforted that we are once again back to the era of sustained growth. The expectation, like I agree with all the cautions that has been given, is for us to sustain it and spend more in the productive sector. But finally, to land on the big push, Look, it is not like any other road infrastructure. I can tell you for a fact that 13.85 billion Ghana cedis has been allocated to the Big Push program. And all these roads, in fact, the finance minister signed commencement certificates on Monday for them. And President Mahama will cut the sword for the first Big Push program, hopefully by the end of this month. And my constituency and Northern, all other regions have benefited from this direct intervention to open up the country, to make sure that Ghana becomes the enviable economic hub under the continental free trade that we are doing. In fact, there's a literature that suggests that at the time that they were introducing the continental free trade, they expected trade intensity and coverage in Africa to have reached 50% by 2020 in terms of total trade Africa has with the rest of the world. Currently, we are doing less than 20. Under the 24-hour economy and the Big Push to open up the economy to Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire, and Benin, we want to serve this place as the enviable place for trade destination. That's what we want to do.
Well, and I thank you very much. Now, Dr. Asman, I keep saying that in analyzing the state of the economy, you cannot discount how people feel. It's a lot more about how people feel much, and also what the managers of the economy are saying. You put that side by side, and you understand what the state of the economy is and how things are playing out. You sitting as an ordinary Ghanaian and being in the state of the economy as we've had over the last 6 months, what are your sentiments? How have you felt over the last 6 months as against what was the case last year?
Right. I think most Ghanaians who are honest can say that their lives have improved within the last 6 months compared to the previous 6 months. So honestly, I believe that this current government is in the right direction. My issue when it comes to personal security, the economic security of the country is in good hands. We can all see the figures, the data. We can all understand that. You don't have to be an economist to understand that the government is doing well. However, the crime rate is going up, not because Ghanaians are evil or criminal, but because the youth don't have jobs. And we need to create jobs. And if we are going to devote 34.5 million to support Jumawura, if we don't reduce the interest rate for the middle class, for businesses, small industries, we are not going to gain much. Because all of these are inversely related. And Professor Bopin will tell us that they are actually quite related. When people don't have jobs, they feel like they are not part of the economy. The youth are a bit being neglected so far. What the government is doing is for the general economy, but we need to trickle down to the level of the youth so that they can also they feel part of this economy. When I don't feel secure in my house because I feel that the area boys may attack me, then it doesn't matter how well the economy is doing, the security of the country is at risk. So for me, I would say power to NDC for what they are doing. They should continue in that direction, but they should trickle the processes down. But giving 34.5 million to Ejumawura, 21 million to national apprenticeship doesn't create jobs. You're going to train more people for the job market, and what are the jobs? You have to empower the business community, the small businesses, reduce every economy, Germany, America, every economy is run by the middle class. If you don't empower the middle class, if you don't reduce interest rate, you're not going to get to the goal that you set. So for me, this is my view. I am very proud of the NDC, what they are doing. However, a lot more needs to be done. Please, do not neglect the youth, because without them, there is no Ghana.
Alfred, yes.
Very quickly, I have to go.
I agree with him totally. Look at it this way. So, when the CD started strengthening aggressively, we were making the calls on people to reduce prices.
Yes.
Unfortunately, Bank of Ghana did not reduce their price.
You mean the policy rate?
The policy, because the policy rate is also a price.
Okay.
Right. So, I think that if you look at the Ghana reference rate right now, which has come down to about 24 point something, you can see that the Treasury bill has contributed its part. Now, we need the policy rate to also respond. We switch from the base rate calculation to this Ghana reference rate so that general improvement in the economy will benefit businesses in terms of lower cost of what? Borrowing. So, to the extent that the policy rate has stuck at 28%, and if you look at the Ghana reference rate calculation, 60% of the weight is attributable to the policy rate, 40%, and then interbank rate, and then another 40% to Treasury bill rate. Yeah. So we've seen Treasury bill rate decelerate sharply, and that has dragged the policy reference rate down. But the policy rate has stuck at 28%. Personally, and with all due respect, my expectation for the central bank in the next pricing window, essentially, is that I'm expecting the policy rate to come down by about 500 basis points. If you look at the gap now between where even core inflation is, if we are benchmarking that the inflation target on the core inflation, if you look at where core inflation is now and where the policy rate is now, the difference is just too wide. The difference is just too wide. So I'm expecting that at least by 500 basis points or so that we begin to also lower the cost of what? Borrowing. Then in that case, businesses can borrow and the rest of them. If you look at all the rates, prices that the Minister of Finance quoted from the media review, Treasury bill rate has come down, inflation rate has come down, you will see that the ultimate lending rate has not come down that significantly.
Hey, Prof, it's okay.
My brother, my brother, you cannot say it's okay. I don't know the kind of business you are running. I don't know the kind of business you are running.
No, for when we talked before.
Prof, let me acknowledge the presence of Solomon Owusu as well. Is joining us as a social politician. Ms. Owusu, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Alfred, and good morning to my co-panelists and to your cherished viewers. And sorry for being here late.
Right. 6 months of the economy being managed by this administration. What's your verdict?
Alfred, I've said that if we are going to benchmark the activities of this administration with what happened under the SWAL administration, we will just be fooling ourselves. I've said that we have to expunge what was done by Nana Akufo-Addo from our lexicon, from our body politic, because it was a non-starter. To that extent, I believe that as a country, we have to give this administration a new benchmark. So whatever they are doing today is a benchmark that they must have it at the back of their minds that the Ghanaian is not expecting them to be comparing to what they came to meet, because it was nothing to write home about. Yes, if you were to compare with the junk economy, you would have done well, because at the end of the day, you were doing 23.8% of inflation in December, and now you are doing about 13.7. If you were to compare it to the junk economy, your exchange rate wasn't anything to go by. Now, with about 4 months, we are in stability. If we were to compare to the junk economy, whereas we're doing a negative primary balance, now we have a surplus. And if you were to compare to the junk economy, you would realize that, as it were, the interest rate has also reduced. Now, but the focal point must be on sustainability, and as to whether or not all these things that we are saying are translating to the ordinary Ghanaian. Sure. Going into election 2024, the clarion call was that the teeming youth were looking for jobs. And to create create jobs, you don't focus on government jobs. But in this country, government is only able to provide not more than 700,000 jobs to the people. Majority of the jobs are provided by the private sector. And if you agree with me that it's the private sector that provides jobs, then you go into what would motivate or lead to more jobs being created in the private sector. And that is what my co-panelists have discussed. Interest rate, interest rate, interest rate. Alfred, I'm in the transport sector. And so when people are talking about food inflation and they are focusing on the food itself, I laugh. The transport component, if you tell me to send my trucks to Sefi Debiso, the road network alone, I wouldn't go. But if I decide to go, then I'm going to charge more. Because the cost of, as it were, parts, if you are not going to charge a compensating amount, you will be out of business. And it is the reason why some of us have been calling on a successive administration to look at the issues of interest rate critically if we want to develop this country. Come on, we are talking about Togo doing less than 5%. We are talking about Ivory Coast doing less than 5%. You say that they are from the Francophone world. Go to the English West Africa. Sierra Leone that had a junk economy is now doing 23%. How come we are doing a worse interest rate regime than Sierra Leone? It means something is not adding up. We need to revisit it. I believe that once we are able to tackle interest rate, the private sector will open up and absorb the teeming youth for them to work, to satisfy. You are paying monies for apprenticeship. Yes, after training them, where would they go? They must have jobs to do. And that is why you need the private sector to be working. So,
but the previous administration, and you heard Dr. Zato made the point, I know you were listening.
Yes.
The previous administration laid the foundation for what is being experienced now. The gains that you talk about in the economy in the last 6 months is as a result of the foundation laid by
maybe Zato was talking about the Cosmocayan economy. But if it was the Ghanaian economy, an economy that we gave women, our parents' haircut, what was the foundation about it? If the economy was doing well, why would we give our mothers and fathers haircut to the extent that we were told by Dr. Michael Ejekum that 800 of his colleagues died because of that policy? There wasn't any there. Nursing allowances were not being paid. Teacher allowances were not being paid. We had a lot of arrears. You heard the president, the finance minister, tell the entire country that they have paid a lot of arrears. If there was that solid foundation, I'm sure there wouldn't be any arrears. The finance minister then just messed us up and left us to live in the U.S. So I do not want to agree, and I will never agree, and I stand to debate anybody who want to convince me that the Eswal administration did anything that was good. I have heard them say that because of the debt restructuring, when you took over the reins of government, were we in debt restructuring position? You took us there just like sending us into an inflation of 54% and bringing us back to 23% and telling me that you did well. When in fact you took over an inflation that was not more than 16%. So we don't have to go there. Don't let anybody use semantics to convince you. That is why I started by telling you that we must not benchmark, use what we experienced in the last 8 years as our benchmark. Other than that, we are not going to grow. Let us give this administration our own benchmarks for them to follow through.
But that's what they inherited. I mean, if you're going to use that as a benchmark, then which other benchmark are we using?
Let's scrap it. I said, pretend as though there was nobody who was a president in the last 8 years.
Oh, how can we pretend? There was a president.
Oh.
That's the former president, Akufo-Addo.
I'm sure we are going to discuss the Auditor General's report.
Yes. But there was a president. How can we pretend there was no president?
The president that we voted for told you and I that he had a covenant with God, so he expended $97 million into a hole. Is that the president you are talking to me about? Is that the president that you are talking to me about?
There was a president. I mean, I'm just...
No, the president, you can have a leader that you pretend that there wasn't a leader. But you can't have a leader who would mismanage the economy to the extent that everything in the country was in shambles. And that reflected in the referendum. You know, election is a referendum on your performance. That a sitting government, an incumbent administration, was giving 41.7%, some even say 38%. I tend to go with a 41.75% for magnanimity's sake. But the truth of the matter is that they did not do anything serious. Go to the Ashanti region, where they voted massively for this for the Eswal administration. As of 2024, close to 1 million people have been moved into the poverty line. In the northern region, close to 800,000 people have been moved into the poverty line. And you ask yourself why? Because if you go to a place like the Ashanti region, they are a trading hub. It comes back to the issue of interest rates. It comes back to obnoxious taxes. You and I were in this country in 2018 when Ken Ofurata came to tell us that he was only introducing compound calculation of VAT only for a year to bridge income gap. As we speak, we are still doing compound calculation of VAT, which this administration is saying that somewhere in November, they will be doing something about it. But once they have not done, I'm not interested. I want to see this country is full of no action, talk only. I want to see that implementation take place. So their yardstick must never, Alfred, for Christ's sake, must never be your yardstick. And that we must rather push this administration to be doing what is right for the people of this country. Nothing to write home about.
But and Dr. Ato, you see, the banking sector, now you're going to get that because it was mentioned briefly. Look, that decision to recapitalize the NIB, the finance minister indicates has saved some 900 jobs as we speak. And the decision to now look at what the NIB was set out to do, Professor Bobkin says it is worth commending going forward and ensuring that the bank is positioned to achieve that needed objective. What's your issue there?
Yeah, thank you very much. I'll come to that, but I needed to situate this within a certain context.
Okay.
We've just been told by Mr. Solomon Owusu that there was no president in the last 8 years. So President Akufo-Addo never existed. So I get it was a ghost that appointed Alain Tramenten as Minister of Trade. I think it was, how do you, the Ashantis call it ghost? Samai that appointed him. Now I don't know.
You yourself didn't even believe that there was a president in this country.
It was a ghost that appointed Alain Tramenten from 2017 to 2021. Again, it was another ghost that appointed Alain Tramenten as Minister of Trade from 2021 to 2022. For 6 years. He can be appointed by a ghost and he was working for a ghost. Thank you, Lasayana. We've agreed that a ghost appointed he was working for good. That's good. 2, he says we should expunge the record. That means that we should go and start from 2017 to 2022 and expunge Alain Tramenten's record as Minister of Trade from that.
But you think I'm leaving him out?
That's what he's saying. So that means that from 2017 to 2022, he was taking salary, he was taking all these benefits, he was enjoying everything for free. We should expunge it. I shouldn't do that. You are talking about jobs. Honorable Alain Tramenten had one of the biggest cabinet positions or portfolios in government, trade industry. He was given, what's the name, 1D, 1F. We are all talking about jobs for the youth. He should have done that. If there's a woeful failure, it means his record was a woeful failure. And you were the one benefiting under that administration, under him. When he was at trade, you were there enjoying. So today you are telling us that. So today, just a minute. So I'm not going to let him get away with it. So today, I'll give you a So today you are telling us that we should expunge Alain Tramenten's record from all this. That is good. We will do that. 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 We will expunge Alain's record. No, you said it. I'm just telling you, we will expunge Alain's record. Secondly, when you look at this budget, you ask yourself again, what happens to the 1 job 3 shifts? We were promised 1 job 3 shifts under the, what's the name? Under the 24-hour economy. What happened to it? Are we still doing that?
Yes.
We are still giving 1 job 3 shifts to people. Look at it. I didn't see that come very well. The other thing I'm looking about is the rule of what? Gold. If you look carefully, there is a study, or there are people, Himani Ghana has the chance to say that. It seems Galamsey is supporting this economy. That a lot of the gold that they are buying, it seems to be coming from, what's the name? The Galamsey sector. That is
Money Africa said this.
Yes, there was a quote to one of their, what's the name? No. To one of their vice presidents. What's his name?
Are you saying Imani said that?
One of their vice presidents, one of their vice presidents says that there seems to be a link between Galamsey with the
exactly? Who exactly said this?
I'll give you that before we leave.
Because
I'll give you that.
Franklin Kujo is watching.
No, it's not Franklin. It's the other one.
Who?
The one who's on Enjoy.
No, so
the one who's on Enjoy. Now I'm trying to. Bentel. He's telling that there seems to be a link between Galamsey and the gold bond. Now the point I'm making is that no, there seem to be. I'm not saying that. I'm just quoting some. You said I've mentioned the person. Okay. He seems to say that there seems to be a link between Galamsey and the gold bond.
Did he give any supporting?
No, I'm trying to give you the supporting. What I think can be the supporting evidence could be that we were promised that Galamsey will be stopped, and we were promised that 1, you would declare a state of emergency in Galamsey sector. We've not seen that yet. We've not seen the state of emergency. 2, we were promised that you will expunge or you will repeal the, how do you call it? The LI. It has not been done. So why? If the Galamsey is an existential threat, and if it is that big to us, why do we still have Galamsey there? And I'm believing that the hesitance, no, I'm trying to make a correction here. Yeah. I'm making a correlation, not a causal link. I'm saying that correlation, that the fact that the government is dragging its feet in repealing this bill, the fact that the government is dragging in declaring state of emergency, and the fact that the Galamsey sector density is booming, then can lay some level of credence to the fact that the Galamsey is propping up the gold board, and that's so I'm saying that you can make that argument.
Because you are an academician.
Yes, yes.
If you make this argument, you are a lover of facts.
Yes.
And not just conjecture.
Yes.
And so if you say, with that emphatic statement, that there is a correlation between the gold board propping up the gold reserves of this country and then also Galamsey. And you are saying that the only evidence you have is because the government hasn't repealed LI 2462 or declared a state of emergency. How does that give any proof that Galamsey is what is propping up the gold for the gold board? What's the correlation?
I'm saying it's possible that there is a correlation, and I'm saying it's also possible that the Galamsey is propping up, and I'm giving you why. No, listen. There's a conveyor belt. The gold board is buying all the gold from the small miners. Is it not?
No, it's small scale licensed small scale miners.
Good.
There's a difference between that and illegal miners.
So the point then becomes, why do we still have this law that is an exemption in the books? With the gold from the gold coming from there, where is it going? Where is that gold going? No. Where is that gold going? Where is that gold going? No, but the small. Okay, let me. This is my argument.
Yes.
This is my point. That I'm hypothesizing that the fact that the government is dragging its foot and the government is not in a hurry to repeal this LI or to declare a state of emergency means that the government is hesitant in how it wants to deal with the Galamsey. And I'm not the only one saying that. UTAC is making that argument. Okay. Everybody's making that argument that why is it that the government can go to Parliament and the state of emergency to impose a law? Why is it that government can go to the Parliament and the state of emergency to declare a holiday, but you cannot go to Parliament and the state of emergency to what? Repeal a law that we are saying is an existential crisis. There has to be a reason, and I'm saying that reason, from my perspective, is that there seems to be a link between Galamsey and the gold.
But Dr. Zato, I can excuse if this is probably coming from just a political commentator. But then again, because you are a lecturer.
Yes.
And I'm sure that maybe you'd have some of your students watching.
Yes.
You want to make a statement that has some basis of fact.
Yes.
So if you say that because illegal mining has not been dealt with, and you know that the gold board law specifically states where the gold board is buying gold from, but then you choose to say that you believe they are buying from illegal miners, when gold board law specifically states that they are buying from small-scale miners, licensed small-scale miners. How do I make sense of that as your student?
Okay, so then I ask you, the small-scale miners, they are still mining, and where is their gold going to?
The licensed small.
No, unlicensed. Galamsey is still going on.
Yes.
And they are mining gold. What happens to that gold? Where does it go?
Do you know?
I don't know.
So why then do you conclude that it's gold board?
I'm saying hypothesizing that it's possible that it's going there.
So it's conjecture.
I'm hypothesizing that it's possible that it goes there. I'm saying that they produce gold. Now we've told that we've sealed all avenues of gold leaving this country. That's what we've been told. That we put in measures to make sure that the only person that can buy gold in this country is the gold board. We've said that, right? That's a fact. And we've said that all the leakages have been sealed. That's another fact. Okay, so you've sealed all the leakages. But now there is, legal gold that's been produced. You've sealed all the leakages as sold to the government. But we've also agreed there is illegal gold in the country. Where does it go?
No, Dr. Zato.
No, where does it go?
I'm saying to you that because you are making a statement that you say is a statement of fact.
No,
I am only telling you that if you can't produce evidence of the fact that the gold that gold board is buying from is from illegal miners, how do I allow that to?
I have not said that. Look.
So what are you saying?
What evidence do we to prove? Do you want me to go and take a gold and say this gold is marked Galamsey gold? There's Galamsey on it, and then this gold is my legal gold. And come and show it to you. But I'm telling you that if you create a policy environment,
if you are saying something, you have evidence to that effect.
This is
you
my
are saying to me that
this is my
you
evidence.
know, based on the fact that illegal mining is ongoing, then it means that Gold Board is purchasing gold from illegal mining.
Okay, so so the gold from illegal mining, where does it go?
You're asking a question and answering.
No, so I'm telling you, that's what I'm telling you, that because I don't know where it goes, and because I've been told, again, this is the argument. We've been told that all avenues for exporting gold have been sealed. We've been told that there's nowhere gold can go. We've told that, that's the fact. But there's still illegal gold that's been mined. Where does it go?
So because you don't know where illegal miners' gold goes to, then it means automatically it's going to Gold Board.
It means then I can hypothesize that it's going there. Some go there. I'm not saying it automatically goes there. Because there's the gold, so it has to be sold. Somebody's selling it. Who is buying it?
I don't understand.
You already told them you are conjecturing, and I'm not too sure.
No,
you said you are.
Yes. So where does it go?
You have been coming here and conjecture everything that you say. It's a very serious statement.
Say what you want to say. Say what you want to say. Where does the gold go? There is illegal gold being mined, is it not?
Yes.
Where does it go?
But if you don't know, why do you then know?
If we have to find a way it goes. If we are told that the gold, there's no place for the gold to escape. If we're told that they are illegally smuggling it, then I could say it's leaving the country. But we've not been told that.
You see, I don't want us to spend time on conjectures, and
conjecture is part of reasoning. Conjecture is part of decision making. You can conjecture. Why not?
No.
Why can't you conjecture? You can reason. You can think.
Move on.
Okay. So that's what I'm saying. So we've made that. Now I'm also saying that there was a report somewhere last week that says that there's no dollar in the economy, or that the dollar in the economy is not enough. That people that want the dollar do not get it. The economy is doing so well, and then the interest rate is coming down. My point is that, so where is the dollar? If the economy
but the Bank of Ghana came to disprove this. You've seen that.
So there are two things happening here. The Bank of Ghana says there's enough dollar to support everybody. But then also, the people that need the dollar says the dollar is not there. One thing we have not done very well as a country is deal with the Abochi phenomenon, the Abochi situation. You go to bank, there's no dollar. But Abochi is standing outside the bank with dollar. The Bank of Ghana says, this is our rate. Our rate is 10 point. What's the rate? 10.45. The commercial banks do have a slightly higher rate, right? But Abochi has a different rate. What are we doing as a country to deal with the Abochi phenomenon? What are we doing with a country to make sure that the Abochi, look, you walk into commercial bank, they say, well, there's no dollar. You walk behind commercial bank, there's an Abochi standing there with a dollar. How did he get the dollar? Who gave the dollar to Abochi? We need to begin to understand this and do that if we want to really, make sure that we preserve this service we are making. If we want to really make sure that we are going forward, we want to do this. Abochi shouldn't have more dollar than the bank. And Abochi shouldn't have a different rate than the bank. I wanted to see real measures, strong measures. In fact, this is where I think that the coercive power of the state must be brought in. We need, even if it is the military, if it is soldiers, if it is the police, to make sure that we do not have this system. Because I've lived in a lot of countries. I've never gone anywhere to see that there's so much foreign currency outside the banking sector for somebody there. You cannot go to a bank in Canada or a place in Canada, you want a foreign currency, and then there's a man standing behind the road somewhere selling you. If you get that, that is drug money. That's cocaine money. That's how people pay for cocaine. So I want to find out. In fact, I think it is important that the finance minister comes back with measures to tell us how we are going to deal with this Abochi thing. It has been festering for so long time, and I think it is what brought the word Kalabuli. Part of the coups and this what happened was to deal with Kalabuli. We've not dealt with it, and it is harming our economy. We need to solve that.
Okay. Well, Sholo, that's a quick one, and I think Professor Bokin wanted to make a quick intervention. I'll come back to Solomon. Yes, Prof.
For me personally, one aspect of this government that hasn't impressed me is about how we are dealing with irresponsible mining. I'm saying irresponsible mining broadly to also include Galamsey and all of that, because we know that to a large extent, artisanal small-scale mining. In fact, a lot of the people who were doing this illegal mining have all gotten licenses in one way or the other. If you look at how licenses were given in the last couple of years and all of that. And I think that there's a reasonable suspicion out there that irresponsible mining is feeding into the gold board and even Bank of Ghana's gold for reserves. And I remember on one of the networks where I said that it would be good for Bank of Ghana to publish the list of firms miners where they buy their gold from, and the kind of environmental impact assessment that goes with it. The reason is that nobody else should do that except Bank of Ghana, because Bank of Ghana itself has been enforcing environmental social governance within the financial sector.
It's like the black diamond thing. No, I'm just adding to it. Like the black diamond, that's where you can say this is diamond from.
What I'm saying, to the extent that we may not be able to tell this and this, it's good for us to tell us. It's the same way that I think Gold Board can help all of us by publishing either on their website or so where they have been buying the gold from, the level of responsible mining that is going along with that. Because you see, if you look at it today, even across Africa, countries that do not export gold substantially have been able to maintain stable currency to some extent. Have been able to maintain. So we, as a country, in the name of stabilizing the currency, cannot afford to accommodate distraction to our environment. And simply because we are afraid, or maybe we think that, oh, if we should deal with this irresponsible mining or galamsey, there will be a structural break in terms of gold production and gold export, and therefore the currency will be exposed. I think it's cheap. The leadership that is based on convenience, we should despise it.
Yes, but that said, the only concern I had was that emphatic statement about that being the reason why.
No, I'm talking about suspicion.
I think those are two separate positions that you're taking.
Yes, and then broadly, my suggestion also is that we need to be deliberate in moving away from a growth model that causes substantial distraction to our environment. Because the gains that we are making today through this approach can never correct the environmental harm that we are doing to that. Look, just last week, we were in the eastern region, and interestingly, the water flowing from the tap clearly looks some way for me. I got to a point where we wonder whether we should even use it or whatever. You see, we face an existential threat, whether we like it or not. And the data and all of that do not point to a sustainable growth model if we continue on this path. Given that we have right leadership, all the numbers are trending in the right direction, I think we should be able to deal with this irresponsible mining, even if it will cause structural break in terms of the gold. We've built substantial reserves. And all of that. That gives us a platform to be able to, other than that, all these gains will look pale some time to come if the environmental harm begins to show up strongly. Whether we like it or not, we can never celebrate an economy where we have people born without part of their organs. I believe that anybody who has the opportunity to live should equally see the legacy the president wants to leave behind. And the data we are seeing from some regions and all of that clearly is not good. And I'm pleading with the president that he has the best opportunity to leave a legacy and a footprint in terms of ecological integrity. If you put everything together and you look at the distraction to the environment and all of that, it's very difficult for me to appreciate totally the progress that the government is making. Because you see, you cannot dissociate the environment from economic sustainability.
Well, so...
clearly, let me just respond quickly to Dr. Zato and settle the matters once and for all. You see...
We can give you space.
You keep on referring to me as having chopped. I don't understand that term.
No, you say you benefited.
How did I benefit? My lifestyle, apart from doing national service in a government establishment, I've never worked in a government establishment before. I wasn't with Mr. Lanchemante at the Trade and Industry Ministry. In spite of the fact that I financed the MPP, for which reason you are enjoying, together with your boss, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, he came to meet me in the MPP. Alanda, you are referring to him confidently. He enjoyed. Allah was a founding father, founding member of the New Patriotic Party. When he was committing his resources to the development of the New Patriotic Party in 1992 coming, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia was 28 years. He had never thought of even joining the MPP, let alone contributing to the development of this country. It's cheap. It has become so cheap. So I don't blame you when you are asked to come and tell me this, you also come and say it. Because your bloggers, they are ready. They are going to cut. Solomon is a stubborn politician. I want to tell you, put it on record, that I have never, contrary to the fact that, in spite of the fact that I have never enjoyed in government business or worked in a government establishment, I have also contributed to the MPP, for which reason you are now enjoying. That is the first. Number two, I have checked with UTAG. You know, before UTAG embark on strike, they do vote. Is that not the case, Prof? Last year, their strike, their decision to go on strike, Dr. Zato voted against it.
How did you know?
I voted. You did? Yes, look, I'm not coming there. He spoke to a friend. You want us to expose ourselves? He never. He voted.
So now
I'm saying the voting was secret.
You are saying that the voting. He went and discussed with his friends.
No, you can't let go. You must investigate this. We are about to vote for. This is an important thing.
Now you are.
We are about to vote for another. We are about to vote for. That would tell us that the voting is secure.
You voted for that. You voted.
Good.
You voted.
Okay.
Tell us.
No.
Yes. He voted.
You tell us how your secure voting system has breached.
So you see,
we now need to know.
He's here talking about state of emergency. What do you call it? Banishing Galamsey here and there. When a whole body decided that they should go on demonstration against Galamsey, because it was the MPP administration, while we were fighting, I remember in those days, in this same TV3 studio, he defended the actions of his administration on Galamsey. Today, just 6 months down the line, he is here confidently telling the entire world that, oh, Galamsey is not good, there has to be a state of emergency. This is a double standard person. This must not be encouraged in politics. And these are the reasons why people have no confidence in politicians, because they are two-faced. But I agree with what Prof said. I am for responsible mining. I have said that one of the reasons why this administration came to power was by virtue of the fact that the erstwhile administration could not deal with issues of Galamsey. And it will be the same campaign message in 2028. So the earlier they tackled it, the better. After all, he has started something. He's prosecuting, or he has asked Yoko to be investigating Yamin and what? Abanga during their time. When the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, Abu Jinapo, when the Minerals Commission singled out, identified Wuntumi and Akonta Mining as being engaged in what? Galamsey, what did they do? The president actually, what? How did they put it?
Cleared
him. That he was doing a responsible mining. It was one of the reasons why Act LI 246 came into being. Because Wuntumi was mining in the forest. In order to, as it were, legalize the mining in forest areas, they decided to bring in the LI 246. You would have brought that LI today. You see the mouth, tappy. They should get rid of the LI. What sort of double standard is this? So please, let us focus on the issues and then ask this government to be behaving responsibly. And like Prof was saying, we have other areas. We singled out about 10-point agenda that we wanted to implement. We have the textile market, there was about 1.5 trillion. We have the vehicle assembly, which is in the trillions. You have the vegetable oils that we can enter into. We have the salt industry, about 15 billion. All these things are there that we can commit resources into to come and replace mining. That is the way forward, and not those that supervise the destruction of the environment, behaving as though they are holier than thou. That will not be allowed to happen here. And here I'm referring to Zato.
I see.
Good one. Thank you. Thank you. One received.
Quickly.
Okay.
Because there's another issue. Hold on. There's another issue the finance minister raised about the book runners and so on. I'll seek your thoughts on that. Honorable Isa, quick one.
So, look, I don't need to overflog the relevance or importance of discussing Galamsey, its impact on the economy and health of our people. So I will not talk more about that. But I just want to say that there's nothing wrong with anchoring our reserves based on gold. That is our national pride. It's our natural resources. The resources of this country should be a gain to us and not a curse. Ghana is actually now benefiting the full benefit of our gold reserves.
You are not.
No, I'm coming.
You are not. I will tell you why.
Why?
Look, if we want to benefit optimally from gold, the decision should be we should process it.
Oh, no, that's not what I'm saying.
Yes.
That's not what I'm saying. Let me
tell you why. Because
you go ahead.
Conclude on the point.
So my point is that if you look at the gold revenue exports, you realize that in Dubai, for example, UAE, in 2024, the total gold volume exported to UAE was about $2.6 billion dollars. What actually came through the Bank of Ghana was 1.9 billion. The rest was through illegal smuggling and then illegal trade. So the point is that, first of all, it is a good call for us to recognize that our functional currency as a country is the Ghana cedi. And the Gold Board Act that mandates that all gold transactions within the Ghanaian economy must be traded in our functional currency. I think that is a very bold decision. Because oftentimes, if you look at our licensing regime, small-scale miners, what was their impact? In 2024, the total volume of gold export by small-scale miners was only 26 tons. As a result of removal of the 1.5 withholding tax on and license process go by small-scale miners, and making the licensing more Ghanaian, the total volumes of gold export for the first half of the year has increased from 26 tons to 51 tons, with a export value of about $5 billion, from 1.8 billion to $5 billion. This is Ghanaian in nature. And so for me, irrespective of the figure you put to it as to the impact it is having on the overall growth of this country, I will look at it from the fact that we are now intentional about making sure that Ghanaians benefit from the gold industry. Look, what is the royalties of we get from these big companies? 5%. Our carried interest is only 13%. So it means that Ghanaians were not already benefiting from the gold reserves of this country. So making it more Ghanaian gives opportunity and reduce income inequality. In fact, what occasioned this Galamsey is as a result of the fact that commuters and residents of communities are there. They cannot get good education. They cannot get good health care. They cannot get meaningful employment. Yet people come from abroad, mine the gold that is in their own community, export them, yet they are in abject poverty. That is the genesis of this Galamsey. And that is why all alternative livelihood programs implemented by previous government has not solved the issue of Galamsey. Because they look at the income parity here. How much are you giving me in the alternative job and how much am I making in the gold business? So I'm happy, particularly, about the license regime that is currently being pursued by the government. There is nowhere President Mahama said when he comes to power, he will declare a state of emergency.
He signed.
No, I'm not. No. I said, just get my point.
So you talk is wrong.
No, there was a pact that was signed.
I just said say.
Yeah. Say. There's a difference between.
I just say is different from sign.
In whatever form they want.
Say is different from sign.
So that is sign, not say. I'm not hearing.
Okay, so where I will land on this. Okay, where I will land on this is that, for me, I think that the licensing regime has always been a problem.
Thank you. Now, Professor Bobkin, on the Auditor General, because it's tied into this, Professor Bobkin, on this, that's the end of the mid-year budget review, as we are seeing now. If you look at the details of the Auditor General's report, and I want your thoughts on that, and then we'll go for a quick break. The Auditor General's report details how much has been misappropriated, and the 86% of the said figure of some almost 19 billion cedis is attributed to the energy sector. An overwhelming 15.8 billion, representing 86% of all public financial irregularities originated from institutions under the energy sector, ECG being the biggest. In terms of this, what we are seeing now, you have GMPC there, BOST, BUI, all of them in there. And then we are having to be levied now to also reduce or pay for the debt in the energy sector. What should be the thinking going forward? Very quick one.
Look, I agree with you. And we have said before that the biggest threat to Ghana's fiscal sustainability, you will find it from the energy sector. And I have maintained that two things scare me in this country. There is one that may cause me to leave this country,
Interesting.
And that one is irresponsible mining. Irresponsible mining. You know, we don't want to go into the detail another day. Then the energy sector.
Yes.
Look, if you look at the IMF report and several other reports in the energy sector, you fail for this country. In fact, it's the reason why a lot of people oppose this idea of introducing the one Ghana levy. Because the infractions in that sector, if you are able to resolve that, that should give us substantial cushion going forward. I also do maintain that if you look at the repayment capacity in that sector, and then vis-a-vis the reform that we are introducing, some of the reforms may not bring the results immediately. So we still need some financial cushioning to be able to ensure that we have lights on and all of that. That is why I said that, look, I support the one Ghana cedi levy in that area, and also because of the savings that has been created because of the aggressive strengthening of the currency. I was looking at the baseline. If you look at February end, where export price was per liter petrol, 16 point something. And with the aggressive strengthening, end of May, we're looking at something close to 12. So there's a savings. So if you introduce the one Ghana cedi levy, the pass-through effect on the ultimate consumer will not be that significant. And therefore, we should be able to introduce this so that we are able to strengthen our repayment capacity. We have independent power producers and the rest of them. Then we said that this should be seen as a temporary handle rather than a permanent handle. And again, there should be greater disclosure about how the funds are utilized. And also, Alfred, the procurement process in the selection of importers of fuel and the rest of them. You've seen in the last couple of years that the energy sector, the entire value chain, has become a way of making money whilst we keep burdening taxpayers, consumers for all of that. And I think that one area where there should be periodic update to the people of Ghana should be the energy sector. How the reforms are being implemented, the results, and how government is managing that sector so that there's greater transparency going forward. Because the point is that, yes, government is doing well now, and remember that if you are unable to sustain this, it's very difficult to carry the people along and all of that. We are all giving government the benefit of the doubt and all of that, and that should not be abused.
Right. Thank you. I'm going to go for this quick break. Solomon, also, I know you're bringing on this Auditor General's report. Engineer Dr. Ken Ashibe, I've seen your message as well. We'll be back shortly after this quick break. Solo, coming on this matter as well. Thank you. Stay with us.
Ghana's most renowned and seasoned angel investor, Richard Niamakwe, is at it again. After successfully investing in Ghanaian startups and turning them into national and global businesses, he's back with another opportunity for bold entrepreneurs 20 to 45 years to receive real investment, strategic guidance, and long-term support. Introducing the Scale Up Fund, a 300 million Ghana cedi investment initiative dedicated to helping Ghanaian businesses that are already operating but need support to grow. This is for any type of business that is promising and scalable. In October 2025, selected entrepreneurs will have the rare opportunity to pitch their businesses directly to Mr. Kwe himself. The opportunity is real. The time is now. Register for free at rnaqholdingsglobal.com. The Scale Up Fund, where great businesses get bigger, backed by RNAQ Holdings and Quick Angels.
Introducing Coa Mixture, Coa Plus Mixture, and Coa MT Mixture, brought to you by Coa Research and Manufacturing Limited Company, proudly made in Ghana. Formulated to support your general well-being. For those seeking immune system support, there is Coa Plus Mixture. Support your body's defenses and stay strong. When it comes to combating malaria, Coa MT Mixture will aid your treatments for effective relief from malaria symptoms Try Coa MT mixture. Coa mixture, Coa plus mixture, and Coa MT mixture are not recommended for pregnant women, lactating mothers, and children under 12 years. Always take a malaria test before using Coa MT mixture. Choose Coa mixture, Coa plus mixture, and Coa MT mixture for your health needs. Available now at pharmacies nationwide. For bulk purchases, contact 0244 726611 or 0591 565 778. This advert is FDA approved.
All right, listen up. Quality is on a mission. It makes our gums happy and our teeth strong. See? We're moving forward and making changes.
It's kind of a big thing.
Colgate Herbal uses traditional nature's herbs and combines it with Colgate Science for healthy gums and strong teeth. And we'll leave no smile behind.
Hey, so mommy, who is going to do my wade jollof?
Oh, Kwame. You know our secret, right?
Yeah.
Efia.
Yes, me.
I've got it.
Now add your Gino Jollof mix.
The perfect blend of tomatoes, pepper, and fine herbs and spices to ensure a consistent taste every time. And there you have it, your original Ghana Jollof.
Jollof so good.
Jollof so good. Tasty, yeah.
What is going on here?
Enjoy Jollof the Ghana way. Gino Jollof is made with the perfect blend of tomatoes, pepper, and fine herbs and spices to ensure a consistent taste every time.
This advert is FDA approved.
Welcome to Rehoboth Palm Aimensa Gated Community. Nestled between the vibrant city of Accra and the breathtaking Ebri Mountains lies a serene gated community. Here, you'll find litigation-free, fully serviced demarcated plots to build your dream house in a gated community surrounded by lush greenery and the calming beauty of nature. Perfect canvas for your dream home you want to build. With well-tarred roads, a reliable drainage system, electricity and water, fully serviced plots are ready for your vision. Enjoy exclusive amenities like a swimming pool, tennis and basketball courts, all within the comfort of your community. Start your mornings with peaceful walks or energizing jogs under the shade of palm trees and stunning views of the Peduase Ebri Mountains and city skyline. Starting from 450,000 Ghana cedis and a flexible payment plan, visit www.rehobothpropertiesgh.com to make inquiries. Call or WhatsApp us on 020-682-3524, 055-375-1933, or 024-476-4499. Rehoboth Properties. Quality housing for all.
Welcome back. This is Keep On TV3. We are live on 3FM 92.7. Also on the Voice of London Radio and the heart of the city of London. And a number of your messages says, Dennis Carter says, good morning, Alfred. I think we should rather think of, or what we should be thinking about gold business, just to think of it, within 6 months, Ghana has received $5 billion from gold export. It means that the country has lost a lot of gold money in the previous years gone by. Let us rather think of what is being done right than doing politics with this gold bar situation. What must be commended as well. You say, Khalil from WA says, good morning. Please, Dr. Zato should know that the 24-hour was not set to be implemented in a month. The term of the president is up to 2028. You say, thank you very much. This one here from Malik Adama says, good morning. In 2022, when the bank rate was 15.5%, that's 15 cedis, 50 pesos to the dollar, their butcher was also selling at 17 cedis to $1. Today, the bank rate is 10 cedis, 40 pesos, and you go on the black market and it's 11 cedis, 45 pesos. I think that we should also be looking at what has to be done to address the situation. Alfred, one statement that the finance minister made, which made me happy, is that all prices of goods and services should be quoted in Ghana cedis, not in dollars. This is one policy that will minimize the demand for dollars, you say. Thank you very much. And Engineer Dr. Ken Ashigbe says, good morning, Alfred, and thank you for the conversation this morning. $2.9 billion was spent on local content exclusive of fuel and electricity that are also local content. We should ensure that as we export a lot more small-scale gold, they also contribute to the ordinary Ghanaians' welfare and not only a few. We need money to build the Takwa Daman Road that Goldfields built. In Suta, Takwa Road, that the Ghana Manganese Company is currently building. You say, Alfred, please ask him, I'm sure you're talking about Honorable Issa, who was left us, to tell us how much of that export has come back to the government exchequer. Last year, the large-scale sector contributed 17.7 billion Ghana cedis. We should allow the small-scale miners to also contribute their fair share of taxes to development. 2024, the large-scale sector contributed $28 million in corporate social investment. It is not true that large-scale sector does not contribute to Ghana's economy. That is Engineer Dr. Ken Ashigbe, is the CEO of the Ghana Chamber of Mines, also sending this. Thank you very much. This one also here says, this from Money, says, good morning. Dr. Zato himself says, does not understand the point he was making about the gold board. I think that he should apprise himself with the law that established the gold board, and maybe that will be a point of education for him, you'll say. Thank you very much for your message. Musa Abatwa in Aswase, and good morning. And I hope Aswase is well and peaceful this morning. The finance minister's budget presentation shows Ghana's economy is on the right track with a 1.1% primary surplus, surpassing the 0.4% target. This reflects the strong leadership of President Mahama and his team, who have revived the ailing economy and cleared all arrears left by the previous government. And thank you very much for your message this morning. And all of this, if care is not taken, Solo, when we look at the details of the Auditor General's report for the year 2024, every year we keep seeing the Auditor General bring out these details, and some of them, the figures that tend to raise concern about what is being done to even retrieve the monies that are said to have been misappropriated. We don't hear much of the collection and even punitive measures. 86% of the almost 19 billion cedis, that's the public financial irregularities, originated from institutions under the Ministry of Energy. The scale of infractions we're seeing went up by 109% as compared to the 2023 figure. ECG underdeclared over 2.95 billion cedis in revenue. Instead of disclosing the actual collections of 11.59 billion, the company reported 8.69 billion to the Ministry of Energy and other relevant authorities. We're also seeing ECG isn't alone in the crisis. Blue Power Authority is still chasing 729 million cedis in unpaid invoices from ECG. They also went to procure some loan that they defaulted on, which they had to pay 846,785 Ghana cedis on. We see that in the Energy Commission as well. There is allocation of 120,000 Ghana cedis meant for the Energy Fund. All of this, what has to be done to deal with this? And this money could make a difference in our lives.
I mean, Alfred, this is the only time I agree with a phrase that was used in the past by President Akufo-Addo when he said, "Yetiskaso." Indeed, Yetiskaso. And ECG is indeed a crime scene.
How do you say ECG is a crime scene?
But you just read to us, 86% of what? All the infractions is coming from the ECG.
No, not just the ECG, just Gridco and others, but a chunk of it from the ECG.
ECG, yes. Now, if you just oppose this Auditor General's report to what was done by the PricewaterhouseCoopers also last year, last year's report by PricewaterhouseCoopers, they were telling us that ECG was collecting 15 billion. They were only declaring 10 billion to us and making available 6.5 billion to the cash waterfall mechanism. Now, the reason why people will continue to do these things with impunity is that people in authority are benefiting from it. They are all part of the cabal. It's a cash cow. They go there, they enjoy it, and you will see that nobody will be prosecuted. Does it not surprise you, Alfred, that we have the National Signals Bureau guy in court over what, $7 million? But there is nobody at ECG, be it the former managing directors or the board members or any staff there facing any prosecution. Not even a single arrest.
But you go to court with evidence beyond reasonable
doubt. But this is enough evidence. You do.
That's what the Attorney General said. Now, prosecution is not a walk in the park. I mean...
ECG, when you go there today, you have enough evidence to nail people. We cannot just be sitting down and always... The one city that we are made to pay, is it not for the inefficiency of ECG? Because if you look at the supply chain, VRA is producing, Greco is transmitting, ECG is distributing. Then the money is supposed to come from the ECG to pay the other players in the chain. Once they fail, then it affects everybody. Then the PRC, together with the government, comes back to us and say, let us go and pay for the ECG's inefficiency because we are not prosecuted. We are in this country that the former board chair came to tell us that indeed, he knew when he was a board chair that people were actually doing connection. It's a common phenomenon. So it's common. Was he taking part? That's why he did not report it. These are matters, but now there should have been a committee of inquiry going after him to come and substantiate or expand further on the statement that he made, that he knew people. If you know people who are into connection or crime, you must report them.
You mean Apenyomakin?
Apenyomakin I'm talking about. But he made this statement and went away. And he's still your minority leader preaching towards the gospel of saintism. When indeed you have supervised one of the worst ECG tenures.
Well, he said he was in his office as board chair for just some 6 months.
6 months, let's go into detail how much was misappropriated and misapplied during that period. It will blow your mind. You don't need more months at ECG to enrich yourself. In any case, he has to be hauled before any committee of inquiry. Why did the former managing director, Muhammad Dubik, left and told us that he was living on a personal reason, a position that he lobbied seriously for? No, we are not kissing this country. What about the former board chair, Kajipo? What was the reason why he left? Is it the reason why we are seeing some of these figures? We have to go into it. Because an institution that knows that the best practices in business, they say go to the sun, go to the source. This entity decided to go through Goro Boys. And the report is telling you that out of that, we lost 251 million Ghana cedis. We went through intermediaries, and so we lost. Don't forget that this was not just a mistake in business, but people actually benefited from the 251 million cedis.
I hope you are not saying that Apenyomakin used ECG to enrich himself, because there's no evidence to that effect.
No, what I'm saying is that we have to investigate. Once monies are missing there, anybody who was in the helm of affairs is culpable. That we have to go into it. Without doing proper investigation, we will not know. But we cannot allow this thing to go unattended to. A company that at a point had about 88 different accounts. What were they doing with it? If it is not for chop. The top is chopping, so it is trickling down. The down are chopping. When you go to ECG, all of them will tell you that any procurement or contract that they award is inflated by a factor of 150%. It's a common business practice there. That when you are buying water in town at 1 cedi, at ECG they will buy it at 1 cedi 50 pesos. Because it's a sales asset that they must milk. Look, somewhere in the report, how can they pay 75 million Ghana cedis to hotel without a contract? Who does that? Who does that? Now you go to Most, because of chop. They also, instead of going through the electronic procurement system, they said no, they push it somewhere. Why must somebody not face prosecution because of some of these things? We are not going anywhere. We are not getting anywhere. And this is the kind of administration that Zato wants to present to us as a sanctimonious administration. So if I tell you that you must forget about that administration, you have to agree with me. Because nothing seems to be working with this. Now you asked a very important question that year in and year out, we are told that some amount, portions of the amount are recoverable. How much are they able to recover from some of these irregularities? We need that data to assure ourselves. Either than that, this 18.41 billion, out of which about 15 billion is attributable to the energy sector, can solve our problems. And it's not the best of situations. It's a sad day, and it's a sad time to be a Ghanaian because of what we are seeing.
Well, and Dr. Ismail Norman, yes. because also Professor, you made your point briefly on this matter.
Okay.
It's about recoveries and retrieval, surcharge, so as to serve as a deterrent, so that year on year we don't come and sit here and still talking about Auditor General's report capturing millions from the public sector. This is your money, essentially.
Yes. I agree with Mr. Osu and his enthusiasm for this topic. I am actually dumbfounded oftentimes by the fact that there are so huge quantum amounts of financial irregularities. The people that run this country, that are decision makers when it comes to budgeting and expenditures, are people within the age group of 40 and 60. A significant amount of this people, cohort of people, are thieves.
Oh, how
they are criminals. Oh. Because how would all this money? No, my brother. It's not the youth that are stealing. It's the adults that are stealing. They are thieves. You shouldn't be afraid to say it. Because where did the financial irregularities come from? Where did it come from? Is the youth that went to steal the money? Is the adults that are running the institutions that are stealing? They are thieves. We need to punish them.
That's where the issue is.
Yes.
So if you have to establish
if you are not stealing, where would the money go? Where would the irregularities come from? Now I'm raising my voice because I'm very angry.
I'm the one who usually does that.
Yeah. I could do that better than you.
Don't copy me.
I'm not copying you. I was once a soldier. I know how to scream.
Give me some space.
I know how to scream.
But you can understand the frustration,
yes,
and the sentiments of people.
That is why there's so much crime. Crime is taking uptick because the youth are seeing we, the adults, we, the decision makers, stealing. That is why the Auditor General can come out with specific amounts of money due to financial irregularities. Who is causing the irregularities? I think Oral needs to be a bit more active. I think we need to have more tribunals to try many of these people because they are thieves. Well, I will never apologize for that statement, ever, until the adults in this country stop stealing.
I'm with you.
Thank you, sir.
That's a quick one on this, briefly. And then
thank you very much. And I must say with all honesty, Solomon, I agree with you on this. Perfectly. I agree. Soldier, I also agree with you perfectly on this. Okay. Because the name of the game should be deterrence. That is why I'm scandalized by this knowledge prosecutor on Kwabena Dufo. That is why this scandalizes me. You start oral operation, retrieve all loot. All. The operational word is all loot. Every single loot should be retrieved. And then you go back and you say, yes. I'm talking about deterrence. We don't have to deter people from doing this. One of the things that we don't see much in the Auditor General reports is that a lot of people are not prosecuted. What is that people are not punished? And that's what I'm saying, that when you read something like this, a knowledge prosecutor to somebody who we are told has allegedly embezzled so much money, then you go and do a sweetheart deal with him and say, give us 60%, keep 40%. How would that deter an ECG managing director from doing the things we are talking about? How would that deter a managing director of any state company from doing that?
So what should be done?
Exactly. What should be done is that we should not weaponize the knowledge prosecutor to only punish political opponents and reward our friends. We should let the court take its natural distance. If you are sitting as an ECG boss and you now realize that, oh, a former boss of ECG has just been sentenced for this, will you do it again? If you were saying, so my point is that we shouldn't do the fact that we are using this knowledge prosecutor thing as a political tool to draw people is what is contributing to this. Okay. The impunity in the country is too much. Oral was supposed to be operating retrieve all loot, but by this you are not looking like you are operating conceal or conceive all loot, and it's not nice. Okay. Let's go ahead and make sure that people are punished. If you waste the public sector money, punish you, jail them, prosecute them, but don't issue a knowledge prosecutor to some people you like, and then the others you say we should prosecute them. That ain't fair.
All right. This week, the For Bobkin, yes, we have to move on to the next issue because you have stated your position on this. This week, the Defense Minister, Dr. Edward Omane-Boamah, addressed the government accountability series, and in that particular address, he did detail how thousands of military-grade ammunitions have gone missing, in fact, cannot be accounted for. And this transfer from the military to the national security was done before the 2024 elections. And as we speak, there's been investigation that has been instituted to locate exactly where these thousands of military-grade ammunitions are. Apart from that, on Wednesday, he went on a working visit or a tour to the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. He also addressed the press that there's been some suspicion, in fact, there's been established theft at the military. And I'll start off with you, Dr. Ishmael Norman, because you are the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College. And this is what the Defense Minister, Dr. Edward Omane-Boamah, said. Take a look at this.
2024 transfer of ammunition from the Ghana Armed Forces to the then National Security without due consultation and authorization, which the present National Security Coordinator is seeing to that investigation. Just when I thought that was being addressed, we have uncovered another one. And in that case, theft of ammunition. And that was even before the 2024 transfer of ammunition from the Ghana Armed Forces to the National Security. The ammunition found in the hands of civilians may not just have come from the ingenuity of those civilians securing them, but may have come from complicity of people who are taxed with responsibility. And so the investigations are ongoing, but the general public must know that these thefts have taken place and we are chasing them. We shall chase the perpetrators to whichever hole in which they will be hiding, because the peace and stability of Mother Ghana is far more important than any other individual's interest.
Defense Minister Dr. Edward Omane-Boamah there. Dr. Ishmael Norman, how can this happen? I mean, we're talking about the military with standards and protocol, and then you have military-grade ammunition getting missing, untraced, transferred without due process and without following protocol in the military. That's surprising to me, to say the least.
Alfred, Minister is correct in bringing this matter to the public's attention, and I support that process. I also believe that probably there was some documentation about the transfer, but in Ghana, we don't keep a lot of documentations properly. So I'm not making an excuse, but it could happen that leading up to the election, people were quite busy moving things around in order to prepare for worst-case scenario, so that transferring the ammunition, which is a very regular activity between various security agencies, that is not wrong. But not keeping documentation of the inventory is where the issue is. I believe that this should not be investigated by Ghana police. The military has the military police. They are very, very good. For example, Major Mohammed's death was investigated by Ghana military. Without them, we wouldn't have discovered the perpetrators. So let the military investigate itself. The naval intelligence, the army intelligence is also very, very good. They should be able to tell us what happened to those ammunition, because some of them are even armor-piercing bullets. And I'm quite surprised that all of this got lost. Even if they were preparing for election, Why do you have to issue armor-piercing bullets to, for example, Ghana police? What kind of disruption were you looking to see to intervene? So it is correct for the minister to bring the issue out. What was transferred is one issue. We need to compartmentalize it. What is missing is stolen. If it's stolen, because Honorable Amankwa Menu said, we shouldn't worry about what was transferred.
Yeah.
He was a deputy minister under Honorable Nitiwol. So they should know, these people should be questioned. The former CDS should also be questioned. And they should be able to tell us what was transferred. But what is missing is a criminal offense. For that, a proper report has to be made to any of the agencies that is built to investigate what is missing. So there are two items that we have to follow. We cannot fuse the two of them together.
Right. So what is transferred, you said it's a normal occurrence.
Yes.
It happens. The military will transfer ammunition to various security agencies as and when needed.
Exactly.
But it must follow protocol.
Exactly.
And the lay down procedure. The minister says this transfer, there's no documentation. It's irregular. It didn't follow protocol. That's where the issue is with the first instance.
I believe that there cannot be a transfer to national security. Let's give some respect to Honorable Nitiwol and Honorable Amankwa Menu. There cannot be a transfer between two government agencies without some documentation. Somebody has to sign to receive it. There has to be a list of the items being transferred. Maybe the paper wasn't filed in the right place. And so since none of those people, the key players, none of them is dead, each one of them is in the country, let's go to them. Honorable Nitu, what do you remember about the transfer? Do you have any documentation? Honorable Amankwa Menu, do you? Kandapa, Honorable Kandapa, do you have any? And what about the CDS? Opompepra, do you have any information under your watch? This amount of ammunitions were transferred. Where did it go? I believe that all the key players are available to be questioned, and I believe that they will be willing. If you use the police, if you use any other agency, the army, because of esprit de corps, may not want to talk either. So use their own military police, their own intelligence arm to do it. Because if I was a soldier and a policeman come to question me, I won't talk.
Really?
Yes. It is a practice. Esprit de corps. You protect each other.
But would it be prudent in this instance for the
I'll
military,
take the fifth.
from the military to investigate itself in an instance like this when they are the ones who are being cited to have not followed due process?
Or the military police is very, very good. They are very, very good. The intelligence division, they don't make any allowances for anyone.
But you see, I've spoken to you so many times, and this relationship we have goes way back. Why are you against the police investigating itself, but then you are for the military investigating itself?
Because of theft control.
What do you mean?
Theft control. I mean, soldiers don't like other people coming into the very inner circles of their activities. But they will allow their own people, they will be very willing to tell the story. But the moment you bring some other external force there, they begin to close up. And they won't tell you, they won't give you all the information.
And I respect, because you teach them, you work with them. You are a former military. You are a former no. You are a former military, personnel. So in understanding the psyche and the psychological, as it were, framework of the military, you're the best person to speak to this, and I respect that position. I was just asking as to how, if we're investigating an act that has been described as irregular by an institution, you say that from what you do know about the structure of the military, they can still investigate themselves. A different arm of the military can investigate what has happened, and we will still get some accountability and the whole picture of what happened.
The police investigates itself all the time.
Even though you are against it.
I'm not against it. The police investigates itself. There is a huge sector of the Ghana Army, armed forces, that are lawyers. So the judge advocate can also help with the investigation. And I believe that they will not protect anyone, because a lot of investigations go on within the Ghana. It's a microcosm of our Ghanaian society. So everything that we have in the civilian world, they have it. So let them do the work. And if they don't do a good job, then you bring in external forces to do the investigation. Out of respect for the entire army. Yes, let us not demonize the Ghana army.
Well, you know clearly that this is not my area.
Indeed.
I don't know how ammunitions look like. They were showing pictures. And the rest of them. So please, I'm just thinking that maybe we should be careful about exaggeration. Perhaps some of these things, the baseline investigation and all of that probably should close our ranks, because the point is that my considered view is that there are certain areas that should not be in the public domain so much and all of that. But I want to believe that the defense minister has got reason for bringing this to the public attention and all of that. So
yeah, but Dr. Esmenoman, you said you're commending the defense minister for making this public, because there are sometimes these things that happen, there are those who are of the view. In fact, the former deputy defense minister said he didn't understand why the defense minister is saying this in public. But then you said it was worth letting us know about what is going on.
It is important for the minister to let us know, every other ministry, whatever is going on, because one of the biggest ethical value of Ghana, probity, accountability, transparency, is in our constitution. Every appointed person must follow this ethical value, and the minister has done well in compliance with that ethical standard in our constitution.
And not cloud this as national security, and so it shouldn't have been put in the public domain?
It's not everything that the public needs to know. Not everything. But I believe that the subcommittee on interior and defense, some of them should also be questioned. How the transfer happened under their watch, because they were part of it. So for me, it is okay to tell us that quantum number of bullets are missing, but the details of that, once the investigation is done, then you can tell us who stole what was stolen and who received the transfer that was made to national security. The transfer wasn't made to an unknown entity. The transfer was made to another responsible government agency. So I don't believe that Honorable Kandapa and his team would deny that they never received that. And if they receive it, where is it? If they can't find it, then we should go after him.
This is a matter that borders on the security of the country, essentially, because if there are two situations: the irregular transfer and the theft of military ammunition that the minister pointed out. Where is it?
Thank you.
The proliferation of small arms we are seeing and how it's influencing conflict, that's where the concern is.
Thank you very much. This is an important question. And as I said, because it's national security, we must treat it with all the necessary depth and deterrence that we do. But I think that on this particular issue, on this particular issue, the Minister of Defense was being unnecessarily dramatic.
Which one?
And by
exactly?
doing on the issue of the ammunition transfer, the Minister of Defense was being unnecessarily dramatic, and he has created unnecessary fear and panic that he didn't need to do. Thank you. Let's look at this. The word used is that ammunition was transferred from one government agency, Minister of Defense, to national security. It wasn't stolen. It's not as if we woke up like, oh, where the ammunition is not there. No, it was transferred. It means that they went to where they put the money. Somebody had to sign to transfer it. That's a record. And we saw that these transfers are done all the time. We've told that it is not the first time. So one, nobody's saying it's illegal. Two, nobody says it's unethical, because again, the moment you are saying transferred, it means that somebody went inside, they legally opened the vaults or whatever it is, took it, put it illegally in the proper vehicle, because you don't put this in behind trotro or taxi, put it in the proper vehicle, drove them to where national security went there. That is what happened. Two, when you went to national security, somebody at national security signed for them. I don't think a soldier will drive ammunition to national security and just go in, back, and put them there and go away. No, somebody at National Security signed for them. And the soldier would have returned with his copy. That's what I want to believe. Somebody, you went there, somebody signed to collect it. You gave the person their copy, you went back. Those are records. When you do this, that's the bureaucratic red tape. It means somebody had to have given that soldier an order to go to the ammunition depot. And so all these things look like they all follow laws. You can trace who signed up. Because if we're told that they were stolen, I'll be panicking. Yeah. But we said it was transferred. That's the way. That means that the protocols for transfer were followed. Now, good.
Yeah. There are two
different things. So I'm talking about the transfer one now. I'm talking about now
the transfer. He says was irregular.
Yes, irregular
because it didn't follow the due protocol.
Thank you. So somebody. So I'm saying now. Secondly, the things went to national security. So we are told they went to national security. That's what again we are told. The national security took them. Have you asked national security what they did with them? Did you say, hey, national security, before the elections, you took this amount of ammunition. Where is it? What did you do with it? You didn't talk to national security. Then you now come to that. No.
But the national security is actually investigating.
Yes, but the national security confirmed that they are missing. That's the point I'm asking.
They are investigating. Means they cannot be traced.
But what I'm saying is that every national security in the world engages in two things at most: covert and overt operations. Covert and overt operations. In order to keep the country safe and secure, you must sometimes do covert operations or sometimes overt operations. What if these were used for what? A covert operation. What if these were used for the national security different from what the military was doing? So my point is that so long as you are saying that things were transferred to another government agency, you don't come out and tell us that, oh, they're missing, oh, they cannot be accounted for. They took them for a reason. I don't think national security say, give us ammunition, we want to, like Professor Kui, we've never seen it. Let's see how they look like. No, I don't think that's what they said. I'm sure they had a reason. I don't think national security say, hey, you know what? We just want to keep ammunition here for keeping sake. No. They engage in overt and covert operations. So it is possible that, yes, they took them, but that they used them to do what they said they wanted for. And secondly, the reason why probably they have not told the Ministry of Defense is because the Ministry of Defense is not on a need-to-know basis. Yeah. Again, we also, thank you, I'm happy you agree with me so that I'm not just, sometimes in intelligence and all these things, if you don't need to know, you would not know. So probably the reason why they haven't told the minister is that, well, because he doesn't need to know. Imagine, I'm just saying hypothetical. Imagine they took these ammunitions and decided to, give it to a foreign country. Another country. I'm saying hypothetical, I'm just saying it. They don't need to come and tell us that, hey, by the way, we took these ammunitions and we gave it to a friendly country because they were improved. They don't have to do that. Okay. So basically, what I'm saying is that they took them, they were transferred, they were not stolen. At least what I heard, they were sent to another government agency. Today, that agency exists. The National Security Coordinator, he's a brother. He's what we call Nambia. He's a sister element from Toronto. And I don't So ask him.
What did you say?
No. Oh, I'm just greeting and saying regards to him and his wife and children. I want him to know me. So
there's a point you made.
He will call me and give me some small.
Thank you. There's a point you made that I want Dr. Ismail Norman to go. Can it be the case that military-grade ammunition is moved from the Ghana Armed Forces or transferred from the Ghana Armed Forces to other security agencies for whatever operation, or by a previous regime, and there's a new regime with a new defense minister, and he wouldn't, or he doesn't need to know, or he wouldn't have been briefed, or he shouldn't have been told what happened, so that at least there is enough briefing on exactly what the transfer was for, why it was transferred, who transferred it, and whether the transfer went through the right protocols. This need-to-know basis. Can this tick the box in this instance?
Maybe the previous finance minister, defense minister knew, not the current.
Okay. At the time that the transfer was made, Honorable Dr. Omane Boama was not the defense minister, and therefore he didn't have the right to know. It should have been in the handing over notes.
Yes.
If it didn't appear in the handing over notes, then he would definitely have the right to question the whereabouts. So what he's doing is consistent with good management, transparent management. I don't have a problem with that.
So the defense minister hasn't done anything?
No, he has. He has a right to know. Because you see, there may be a correlation between the missing ammunition and the uptick of crime. The CEO of Small Arms Commission has come out with some data that is very scary if you're paying attention. Dr. Adam Bona has reported an increase of about 50-something% in violent crimes against people. Recently, a member of the Council of State was coming from the north, and he was attacked and robbed. Was it last week or so? I mean, the arrogance and the audacity of the young men attacking people, you realize they are not afraid of anything because they have the weapons. And when the police responded to this call to help the member of Council of State, they started shooting at the police. And some of the policemen ran away to save their lives, which is perfectly okay. So
who wants to die today? Nobody. Indeed. So, so let's bring it. And when I spoke to Ernest Bojaje, who is the Deputy Defense Minister, I'm going to play back that interview. He indicated that this transfer was done just few weeks to election day, December 7th. You know about it?
Yes.
What does this tell you?
For me, I have always preached that the security agencies in general elections should prepare for the worst case scenario. So that in case things get out of hand, they will be able to intervene and to mitigate. So maybe this was part of the preparation towards election-related violence or post-election related violence. So for me, I think the motivation behind the transfer, you need to talk to the people who requested for the ammunitions and the people who made the transfer.
On the contrary, I believe that it was to rig the elections. You see, if you listen to the minister carefully, he said there has been theft beyond the transfer. There has actually been theft of ammunitions. You understand? Now, the national security is not a standing army. It's not a standing force. So why would you transfer ammunitions from a standing force, which is the army, to the national security to go and do what? Close to elections? Mr. Norman, we are not kids. They were going to use it to rig elections. If you were listening carefully to the sort of campaign messages in the days leading to the elections, from leading figures in the ruling party, what were they preaching of? That if you dared, we will show you pepper. In fact, the one that was leading the operation, Osman Buga, the one who has been booting TV3's microphone, in the heat of the moment. You remember?
No, you make your point. You make your point. You don't make those ones.
Has it not been booting your...
Everybody give you space. Okay, now go ahead. Make your point. Make your point.
So immediately after the elections, he came out to say that MPP supporters were being harassed and that he was calling on all his troops around the country to begin to come with their arms. That statement, I thought was going to be invited because we don't have any standing army in this country under the constitution, other than the Ghana Armed Forces. So for him to have issued that statement that all his men must begin to rise up with their guns, it tells you where these ammunitions could be found.
So we should be looking there.
part of the joint force for election security?
No, man, if a government in power can do anything possible. I have been into various elections, situations before. And if we show you the sort of arms that are held by private individuals, you marvel.
Oh, I won't.
Yeah, you would. Now, so you agree with me now. Now we are in a country where you just mentioned about Aswansi. Go and see the sort of ammunition that people are using to kill innocent human beings. A lot of people have these ammunition in their homes. And so when they are talking, they talk chest out because they know what they are sitting on. That's why I believe that it's very easy to identify those that are behind it. We know where the ammunitions were, those that were responsible for keeping it in the same place, who signed it off, and who received it. So if we are not finding it, we must bring them to book. This is where prosecution must start. So beyond the minister announcing to us, he must do the needful. He says there is an ongoing investigation. The investigation must close in on those that allowed it to leave their premises so that we prosecute them as a country, rather than sitting down for them to use it. Now we have elections ahead of us. You may see some in Akwetia.
We'll be back shortly after this quick break. Stay with us. We'll play back that interview with Ernest Bojaje. More on this ammunitions on trays and the ones that have been stolen as well. Stay with us.
When we come together,
Reporting from the Takoradi Market Circle.
From the heart of the Upper West Regional Capital.
From the heart of the Ashanti Kingdom.
Reporting from Sunyani.
From the Central Business District of Navrongo.
The parliamentarians are on recess.
This is where it all unfolds. The moments that potentially alters the course of our nation and the world. These are the individuals we recognize, the voices we amplify, who appears on screen and who contributes behind the scenes. With professionalism at our core, we bring you news you can trust, impact journalism that makes a difference. This illustrates how diverse perspectives enhance our strength and reinforces our mission. This is 3 News, leaders in breaking news, exclusive interviews, facts and analysis on TV, radio, online and digital. 3 News, first in news.
Reporting from the Takoradi Market Circle.
From the heart of the Upper West Regional Capital.
From the heart of the Ashanti Kingdom.
Reporting from Sunyani.
From the Central Business District of Navrongo.
The parliamentarians are on recess.
This is where it all unfolds. The moments that potentially alters the course of our nation and the world. These are the individuals we recognize, the voices we amplify, who appears on screen and who contributes behind the scenes. With professionalism at our core, we bring you news you can trust. Impact journalism that makes a difference. This illustrates how diverse perspectives enhance our strength and reinforces our mission. This is 3 News. Leaders in breaking news, exclusive interviews, facts and analysis on TV, radio, online and digital. 3 News, first in news.
Welcome back. This is Key Point, and a number of the messages. This one here from Akan Miman Albert says, which officer in the Ghana Armed Forces ordered the transfer to the National Security, and who received the items at the National Security? That must be answered, you say. Richard Kumado, security analyst, thank you for watching. He says, Alfred, after 7 months, there was no documentary evidence available for the ammunition being able to be traced between the host military and the receiving agency, the National Security Secretariat. That is why the term missing even in the area of the transfer. The defense minister alerted the public, but the investigative side of things will and can, you say, be made to carry out by the military itself, the NIB and the National Security Secretariat. Stealing ammunition from the military armory is treasonous offense. Dr. Ishmael Norman, stealing from the military armory says it's a treasonous offense that needs urgent attention and prosecution. How will the military deal with this? The matter of the theft of armory or theft of ammunition in the armory of the military?
Well, if something is stolen, it's a criminal offense. And from the armory, there's somebody in charge of the armory. So you have to go after the person who is in charge and make sure that maybe they have not just misplaced it in the inventory room, in the stock room, but maybe it is actually stolen. Until you finish your primary investigation, it's a bit of a rush to make that conclusion.
Okay.
By stealing ammunition from a military armory, is actually a very serious offense.
Indeed.
As my brother Kumado has said.
Right.
So I don't have a problem with that description at all.
Great. Mansa Musa, who together with thousands of you watching us on the Voice of London Radio in the heart of the city of London, says good morning and great discussion this morning. The problem shouldn't be about just recovery. There should be accountability and deterrence, as well as we won't, or else we won't get anywhere. Thank you very much. He says, I'm listening to you on the Voice of London Radio and ABL Television. Good morning from Mansa Musa. This one here says, Alfred, please, it is true that the military can investigate the missing ammunition, but he said he's wrong to say that the soldiers won't talk to the police. I'm sure you're referencing Dr. Ishmael Norman. Thank you very much for your message this morning. And then also we have here, Mani Nemani says, NDC, we are watching you closely. If you don't prosecute these persons who have been captured and in the Auditor General's report, then you would have questions to answer, you say. Thank you. Good morning, Alfred. Ask Dr. Zato, is it not possible that with the measures in place now, the Galamsey may elect to keep their gold at home rather than selling it, you say? Thank you very much. Kizito, Tema East, it says, good morning, Alfred. I think Prof. Bokwin has simplified the discussion to the layman's understanding. This is the kind of economic analysis that we need. Kudos for the conversation this morning. More of Professor Bobkin in the coming weeks. Thank you, as and when he is free. Thank you so much, Solomon Usu. Thank you so much, Dr. Ismail Norman. Thank you, Dr. Zato. Appreciate you. On behalf of the rest of the team, we do appreciate your time.